This is the Above Average Podcast, and you are listening because you want an above average life. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Above Average Podcast, the podcast where we talk to above average people about their above average lives. Now, today my guest is known to many as the Travel Yogi. She's an entrepreneur, fitness professional, yoga teacher, breathwork guide, and world traveller who's perfectly blended her practice with her passport. Whether she's on a beach in Thailand, chilling at a seasonal equinox gathering, or throwing shapes at a festival, she brings an exciting and captivating energy to everything she does. We're excited to welcome Miss Sharna Johnson to the show. How are you, Sharna?
I'm very good, thank you. That was such a nice opening.
Good. I hope I got everything right. I could have totally botched that. You never know.
No, I think you've hyped us up quite well.
The rest of the episode's downhill.
That's as good as it gets.
That's as good as it gets.
No, but thank you for that. That was
no worries. We've got some great. I mean, we've known each other a few years. We've been back and forth, and I think I've been talking about getting you on the podcast since I started the thing. To be fair, so now I'm glad we'll finally go around to it.
Finally.
I know. So let's start with the fitness side of your life. So what inspired you to get started with the fitness side? Were you sporty as a teenager? Like, how did that sort of part of your life start?
I was actually a professional swimmer when I was younger.
Nice.
So I was really fortunate enough to have parents who got us into a sport when I was young. So even when I was in primary school, I was getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to go training. So I did swim quite competitively. Nearly got a national level and everything. And then obviously I hit late teens. Didn't really want to be disciplined. I wanted to be a little bit rebellious, and I wanted to be out with my friends, and you know, that discipline and sacrifice that's needed to do well. I just didn't really feel like it was worth the risk of me social life type thing. And also I did end up breaking my thumb. So when I was going through my little bit of rebellious stage, I ended up in a fight, and I ended up punching this girl really wrongly with like my thumb.
Inside the fist, right?
So I kind of broke that bone.
It pulls it, doesn't it? Out, yeah.
Like completely snapped it in half. So I've got like the little scars there. And actually, the physio that I had was like a really lovely physio, and I can remember. At the time, I really struggled getting back into swimming after that because for a while I had to just kick, and then I was getting a lot slower than a lot of my competitors. So it no longer became fun when you're not good at something. I was like, shit.
I know what you mean.
And I'm like, I'm sacrificing going to like birthday parties and everything just to train, and I'm not really like, so that mixed with obviously being a bit rebellious, I ended up leaving the swimming. But I can always remember how the physio really like went out of her way to help us. So when I started thinking about what I wanted to do when I left school and stuff, I remember how she really supported me, and I thought, I would love to be a physio. So actually, it wasn't really the fitness world that I wanted to be in. I wanted to be a physiotherapist. So I went to college, did sports therapy, did me degree and everything. But then I realised when I was doing the degree and I was doing a lot of the physio stuff, that it was the fitness side that I was falling in love with. So during my degree, I ended up doing like my PT, my fitness instructor, I started teaching classes, and then I just slowly kind of left the therapy side of things and then started going into a little bit more fitness because that's what I really enjoyed. So it was funny because it was a little bit more the therapy that I was interested in at first, and then I just fell in love with like getting paid to stay fit, really.
Getting paid to count people's reps and stuff.
Basically, yeah.
Question is though, did you win the fight?
I did.
She's like sparked out cool. You got a broken thumb, which is
it wasn't very good though, because then I ended up in another fight like a week later with her cousin. She bit me head. And there was all sorts of...
What, are you just working your way through the family at this point?
Where's
your ma?
Do you know what it is, right? Like, I'm not a confrontational person. I hated fighting. Like, I did not want to fight this girl at all. In the first fight, she was actually supposed to be fighting my best friend at the time, and I was there to support, as you do, as childish kids, like, on the field gathering around, like, fight. And then she ended up coming over and saying, like, I'll fight you instead or whatever. And I think it was only purely because of how fit I was with me swimming, how I was able to like overpower her and win the fight.
Nice.
Because I wasn't very good at fighting, obviously. I punched with me fucking thumb in me fingers. Pardon me language.
Well, you can swear on this podcast. Yeah. You want to drop the C word and call her, just do it, it's fine.
I wasn't very good at the fighting thing. I just think I was genuinely a lot fitter.
Yeah.
So that did work in my favour. So I did win the fight.
Nice, good.
Yeah.
So did you, obviously you must have struggled to kind of, after you got into the fitness thing, did you struggle with, obviously you mentioned the social life, the party side of things, like did you struggle to maintain the healthy balance? Because obviously to be dedicated with fitness, like you said, requires a lot of sacrifice in the other areas. So was that always a struggle for you, or? It
was, actually, to be honest. You know what I think I struggled the most with was I would either be one extreme or the other.
All or nothing.
Yeah. So I would get myself very, very disciplined, where I was like literally not doing anything, and trying all sorts of different diets and stuff as well. Like I say, literally one extreme to the next. And then I would find myself going into very self-sabotaging spirals as well, where then I wouldn't be as supportive with me clients and stuff. I mean, this was when I first left college. I was like, 18, 19?
Yeah.
In the fitness industry. So I was very like up and down, up and down. So yeah, I did struggle because like I say, it was one extreme or the next. Finding that balance of where I could go out and enjoy myself. I was either like, right, I'm not drinking, and it would be like months of like solid in the gym, eating clean, like not doing anything fun. And then as soon as I would say go out, I would then spiral and be like, right, okay, like fuck this type shit. And then I would just eat all shit. And it was like a really toxic cycle that I was in. But I mean, I did eventually break that cycle and did start to find the balance. But it is hard, I think, especially in the fitness industry as well. It's very easy when you're around people who are very disciplined and to kind of go the other way as well, where it can be a little bit more detrimental to your health, like mental wise, like mentally from a mental health side of things. And I did notice that quite a lot. Kind of the later years of me PT. I mean, I still do the odd bit of PT now, but I don't do nowhere near as much. But certain gyms I've worked in and stuff, I have found certain times when I've even found myself terrified of putting like sauce on my salad because I didn't know how many calories were going to be in it. And
oh, really? Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like a little bit more of where it was like extremely the other way, where it was like a little bit more unhealthy.
Yeah, when it becomes too obsessive.
When it's not a healthy like discipline type thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I've been training since I was 18. And I've took it seriously, but never seriously to the point where I don't get to eat what I want. Like I've got a diet. 90% of it is fine, but I love cinnamon buns is my weakness. So obviously they're like 1,000 calories a bun, you know. Yeah. So I'll just go on them. I'll have a pizza. Like I don't ever go, no, I can't have that. I'm training. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll just eat whatever. But I remember when I first started the gym, actually, when I was training when Paul was my coach. Yeah. And I used to do night shift work. Right. And it was like, you know, when like you first start the gym, so you think everything's like, you take everything like 100% literal. Yeah. So I'm like on a night shift, like building some shit in home base or whatever. And I'm like, got this little packed lunch of like exact calorie counted protein and all this stuff. And I'm like, I would never go back to that now.
I mean, don't get us wrong. Like, I know that when you're competing in bodybuilding, like, I do get it has a place. But I think when you're training for the longevity of your health, when you're genuinely just wanting to have a healthier lifestyle, I don't think those dramatic measures are obviously needed because it can very much go the other way. And I have seen that very much in my PT career of like seeing people around us. I think also as well because when you're the PT, a lot of people are also looking up to you as that influence and as that kind of inspiration. So I think subconsciously, without realizing, you're constantly aware of like, a lot of people are looking to me for an example. So it's like, you know, I must be disciplined, I must practice what I preach type thing. And during those times when I was preaching, you know, like, you know, the cleaner the better, it was like, it's hard not to then embody that, you know what I mean? So I think as well, people don't talk about the pressures of when you are a PT or if you are a fitness instructor, of constantly having people assuming you to be a certain way. Yeah. Like I can remember once, this was when I worked at the NHS, and I know the guy's comment wasn't coming from a malicious place at all. But I can remember I'd went and got like a bacon sandwich, right? And it was one of the mornings where we would call it Fat Fridays, right? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it was like, right, we'll have whatever we want for the food and whatever, even though you should never have to justify having an unhealthier option. Yeah. But would you used to enjoy it, right?
Fat Fridays, it's fun.
Yeah, it was one of those things. And I can remember he came in and he was like, I was like sitting chomping on my bacon sandwich, enjoying it, you know, nice crispy bacon and that. And he was like, oh, you know, should you not be like eating an apple or something for breakfast? And I was like, what? Like, are you fucking joking?
So protein in an apple, bro. Fuck off.
I know, like, come on. And I know that it wasn't from a nasty place. I know he was just trying to probably have crack and didn't really think of the impact that his words would have had. But words can hold a lot of, like, impact on people. Yeah. People can hold things that you've said for years. Like, years. I mean, it didn't bother us.
But here you are talking about it on a podcast, though, yeah. So
I did remember it. Yeah. And I don't have the best memory, so it's obviously, like, ingrained in there. Yeah. And I just thought, like, it was just a little bit more of and then I was thinking, should I really be eating a bacon sandwich in front of everyone? Like, and even though, like, I easily reminded myself, like, yes, it's absolutely fucking fine to have the bacon sandwich. Yeah. Like, don't let that opinion
some
on that
people
word.
wouldn't have that mindset.
But not
though.
a lot of people would. And like I have seen, because I have had a lot of my friends who have had eating disorders, and there's people who I've worked with who have probably had borderline eating disorders but just not being aware of it, and maybe kind of classed it as, you know, for the sport or whatever it is. And I know it is necessary in some degrees, but words can hold a lot of power to people.
Yeah.
So it's just being mindful of how you're saying things and what you're saying. So yeah, it's really when you're constantly in that light and expected to be a certain way because you're a PT or you're a fitness instructor or whatever, that can also have a lot of detrimental, I think, on how you view yourself and how you live your life type thing.
Did it ever massively impact you, that, or was it just little things over the years?
It's never impacted us enough, I think, for it to become an issue. Like, I've always noticed it in enough time, I think, for it to not have had like a hugely, because I think I've always been hugely into mindset, and I've always journaled, I've always been into like self-reflection and things like that. I've always been to kind of understand that the external factors that are maybe making us think this way don't have to be how things are.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if I worded that very well. So even though there was times where I did notice myself getting a little bit anxious about putting sauce on my salad, for example, like I'm having a fucking salad, like why does it matter? You're putting fucking sauce on your salad. And even little things like, I used to feel really guilty as well. Like, my mum would say, like, make a mince and dumplings, right? And if she didn't keep the packaging, I would be like, fuck, you've not kept the packaging. Like, I kind of track
How many
it,
calories
like,
are in? Yeah.
And like, my mum would have stood and like poured our time and energy and our love into this meal, and here's me like, I can't fucking eat it because like, and it was like, you know, that was like so horrible for my mum to have to deal with. And like, now I would never do that, obviously. But back then I can imagine how disheartening that would be, because like, I barely fucking cook, right? But if I cook for someone, I'm like, it's a big deal. I'm like, I've fucking stood and cooked for you, like that's a big deal. And like, my mum would just like effortlessly do that for me, and then I would be like shitting on it because she didn't keep the fucking packaging. Like, that's ridiculous, isn't it? And I think now, obviously, I realise, but there was times when it would massively impact like whether I would go out for food with my family and stuff like that. And it's like, life's too fucking short to do that. Do you know what I mean? So it probably did impact us in some ways, but I haven't ever kind of been in that phase for too long. Like, I have noticed it quite quickly and then just started to revert back. But again, because I'm one extreme or the next, as soon as I would start to realise, like, actually this is really toxic and this is not how I want to be, then I would be like, right, fuck everything healthy, and it would be like, for the other
bring
way
on
for
the
a little
cinnamon
bit.
buns.
And I would be like, right, and I'd be like dead anti, like, and do you know what, like, so
It's a
I
funny
am
one.
finding a good balance.
Yeah, it's like, I think unless you're like really overweight or really underweight, I think doing it to that extreme isn't helpful. I think if you need to lose weight, or like you're going to lose a leg or something, or need to have a gastric sleeve or something, track the things on the salad, right?
Of course.
Or like if you're needing to gain weight because maybe you're really underweight or whatever, like that's when you need to be aware of how much you kind of taking in so you can gain weight healthily. But I think if you're just like, depending on your goals, I think most people like just have the pizza once a week. Do you know what I mean? Just don't go overboard. But I think, how do you deal with that all or nothing mindset, do you think? Like, if someone's listening to this going, that's me as well, I'm one extreme to the other, like, what's the best way to sort of handle that, do you think?
So the way that I started to find a better balance was, especially when it comes around to food, right? Nutrition, for example. I would schedule in the like chocolate bar that I was going to have or something. So every single day I would have something that I would enjoy, that I wouldn't class as like clean. And this was years ago when I first started like trying to implement and knowing that I needed to get like a better balance with things. So organisation is massive with me. Like, I need to plan everything to a T.
Right.
Like, even when we were trying to organise like times to chat and everything, I was like, I've literally got like fucking 30 minutes here or whatever. Like, I literally time everything. So planning, having like the unhealthier thing and having something every day so I didn't crave it as much, if that makes sense. So the majority of my meals would be healthy and they would be planned. Like, I would always try and have like a portion of fruit and veg with a meal, like balanced that way, but I would know that every single day I was having something just because I wanted to enjoy it. And something that would have, in the past, I would have deemed like unhealthy. So then it got to the point where, like, because I knew I was having something every day that I enjoyed, I didn't feel like as soon as I had something I was like having to binge out, if that makes sense.
Because it's almost like you're suppressing all these urges to, I want to eat this but I can't, and then all of a sudden it goes,
and then as soon as you do, it's like, right, fucking everything. Which I know a lot of people do struggle with like that. So with PT clients and stuff like that, I would literally say, if they would say sending us over like what it is that they were eating and all that kind of stuff, I'd be like, where the fuck is the nice food? Like, where is your chocolate? Where's the good shit? Like, that is so boring.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Here's my chicken, rice and broccoli for the 8th time
and
today.
people feel as though like you have to be that all or nothing to get that, but I think you get to your goals a lot quicker if you're enjoying what you're doing and you're not taking that level of like guilt. You're taking that level of guilt away, because a lot of the stuff that I do now, especially with any of the clients that I have, it's a lot more energetically how it feels. And if you're feeling guilty about like the food that you're eating or shame or anything, then you're operating from such a shit vibration and a low frequency, and you're never going to achieve your goals by operating from that space. So taking away the guilt and knowing that it is okay to eat what you want, obviously in moderation.
Yeah.
And when you know that you're having something every day as well, I feel as though you don't have the urge to then think, right, I need to eat the full fucking packet type thing. And I know it is easier said than done. It's definitely a mindset thing.
Yeah.
And it's not as simple like, oh, listen to this and then
But
think I'm going to do it.
when you're saying scheduling in and tracking it, that's how you
Yeah.
know though. Because most people, if you actually, do you remember that super size versus super skinny where they had swapped diets? Do you remember? You spot all the food in the tube.
Yeah.
It's like if people could see that, they'd be shocked at what they're actually
What
consuming.
they're
They're
actually having.
like, I don't eat much. Yeah, but you graze, and that's what you know what I mean. You're just like constantly eating like little things. I don't eat much, but it's like little bits, but they're like adding up massive
Over the
calories.
long-
Yeah,
long-
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So when did you start incorporating the yoga side into things? Because that's like, it obviously, I think it's a natural progression from the fitness PT stuff to more mindset and wellness. But why the yoga side of things?
Do you know what's dead funny, right? So I actually got into yoga. I went to my first yoga class, right, because I was so fucking stiff and I was so inflexible. Didn't really have any like mindfulness side of it at all. Someone was like, oh, go to yoga. And one of my friends would go quite regularly and she was like, you need to try it, whatever. And I was lucky enough, right, my first yoga class that I went to, she had a theme. She introduced a little bit of the yoga philosophy, and like at the end we did like the shavasana, which is like a lion meditation type thing. And it was the first time that I'd actually sat with my thoughts in a still position for longer than 5 minutes. And at first it was a little bit like, oh, I felt like dead uncomfortable, felt like I had to keep shifting and everything. And then afterwards, when I just allowed myself to kind of relax into it and stuff, like I felt a little bit emotional, right? And I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, what is that? And that was my first ever yoga class. And I remember just leaving feeling dead light and feeling really nice about myself. And I was like, oh, the theme was really nice. Like, and that kind of got us really interested. So then I went back the next week and tried a different theme. And then it was like just slowly introducing these little like mindfulness techniques that I'd never really understood. And then obviously I first went for the physical side of things, you know, increase the mobility, the flexibility, all of that kind of stuff. And then when I started to realize how it was making us feel mentally and how much of a positive impact that was having, I found it a lot easier because it was very much focusing on like, you know, your body positivity and stuff. And that was one of the things that I was struggling to kind of drop, especially working in gyms where it is very common for people to be competing. And you know, when you're bodybuilding and stuff, I've got a huge respect, like I say, for people who do that sport. Like I've got nothing against it, but I do know that it is the only sport in the world where you kind of have to starve yourself to do well. Like
It's true.
So it's and like I say, like I've massive respect for people who do it, but I can see how it can be detrimental long term mentally with the relationship that you have with food, the relationship that you have with your body. Because I mean, it's not uncommon to know that people who compete do have like body dysmorphia in some way, shape or form, or they do suffer with like mental issues like that. Not everyone, obviously. So I'd noticed that I was finding it a lot easier to stop those type of thought processes, if that makes sense, around food. And I just started to really learn how to love my body for how it was. And then I started trying to implement that a little bit more with my PT clients and realizing, like, you know, I know you've got this specific goal to lose a certain amount of weight or to look a certain way, but when you start to move in a way that's celebrating your body rather than in a way from hate and wanting to change it, the results come so much quicker because you're doing it from a place of love, and you're doing it because you're able to, like, you're celebrating what your body's able to do rather than constantly wanting to change it and wanting to like think bad of it on it, if that makes sense. So I got into yoga purely for the mental side, like I say, and then it was the yoga philosophy that I really fell in love with. And then I actually did my 200 hour the start of lockdown. So it was a weird time for me, lockdown, I'm not going to lie. But when I started to learn about the yoga philosophy in that much depth, then it opened up this other can of worms. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
What was it at first that sort of attracted you? Do you remember the philosophy part, like the part of the philosophy that really attracted you to that in the first place?
Probably all of it. And I think it was the fact that there was like texts and it was like actually
The
like
ancient texts.
yeah, but like, do you know, like it wasn't just like there was actual like yeah, so there's something called the 8 limbs of yoga, right?
Okay.
And basically this was written by a guy called Patanjali, right? And it's been translated throughout thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And within the 8 limbs of yoga, right? Imagine like a tree with 8 branches.
Okay.
One of the branches is asana, which is the physical postures and poses, which is what we know yoga to be in the Western world, right?
Okay.
So Eastern cultures and Eastern countries tend to hate the fact that we earn money from yoga and don't teach what yoga actually
Right,
is.
okay.
Because
yeah.
we've took this tiny little percentage of what yoga is, made it a money thing, you know, like we've earned from it or whatever, and a lot of the actual sacred kind of philosophy around it gets lost.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part of yoga, and that's the part of yoga that I really love, and that's the part
Okay.
of yoga that I try and really implement in my classes. So that one branch is asana, the physical postures and poses, and then you've got another branch which is the yamas, and then you've got the niyamas, and these are basically, so there's 5 in each. And the things that you should try and implement in your life, and then there's things that you should try and kind of refrain from.
Okay.
So there's things like non-attachment, non-stealing, non-harm, and these can all be translated to all sorts of different teachings and different meanings.
Yeah.
And that's what I found quite beautiful about it as well, because you've got the kind of texts that are there, but then there's so many different interpretations of how this thing can be practiced. So even though in the yoga space there is very much like, that's not yoga, and like, that's
Yeah.
yoga can be whatever you want it to be. Like, you can take that teaching and whatever perception you have around that, and however that's going to help better your life in any way or make you feel better mentally, then that's, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's nice, there's so many different interpretations around it. So yeah, probably the fact, because I am very much, well, I used to be very much like black and white, like very science, like I wasn't into like astrology
woo-woo
or like
stuff.
woo-woo stuff, like at all,
Mm-hmm.
like for years. And then it wasn't until I started to learn a little bit about yoga and the yoga philosophy, and then I started to go down like big rabbit holes, and then like the fitness side of thing left for a long time. For a couple of years I was like not interested in PT, like I wasn't interested in trying to help people change their bodies in any way, shape or form, and I just become so obsessed with this like different way of seeing things. And then
That's cool.
and then I started, there was like loads of different instances where I was still a little bit skeptical of things, and I went for my first Reiki session.
Okay.
And this is probably not a rabbit hole that we're meant to be going down or anything, but that was what made us really like, holy shit, like this is actually real. Like, what the fuck? It was so weird. So I'll basically tell you about my experience, right? On the morning before I went down to this Reiki session, I was, like I say, still dead skeptical, didn't really understand what like chakras were or anything like that, but one of my friends recommended us, and she was like, she's really good for massage and stuff anyway. So I was a lady in Blythe, went over, and in the morning I got offered a job on a cruise ship, right, to travel the world. This was cool. Really, really cool. And just before this, I'd lost like my dream job with TUI, where it was like to go and teach yoga and fitness in the sun. And I've never really had any experience with travel before. So that was like my in on travel, because like that was me 2 passions combined. You know, like being able to travel the world and teach fitness. Like, wow, that's amazing. But then obviously lockdown happened, and then I started caring for my grandma and all of these other shit. But anyway, so I was like still wanting to get in the travel industry some way, shape or form. And then I got this job offer, but it was a 9-month contract. And I was a bit like, can I really be away from my family for 9 months?
Yeah, it's a big commitment,
Yeah, and I'm dead big on family. Like, family is literally everything to me. It's my biggest driver. It's my biggest why. And so basically, had this job offer, and I was a little bit like, hadn't told a soul, not anyone, right? Went into this Reiki session or whatever, and it was like really lovely and relaxing. And she was like, did you sing anything? And I was like, I think I seen a frog or something. She was telling us what that meaning was. I don't know, because I wasn't really sure what to expect. You know what I mean? And then after that, she was like, well, this is really strange. She was like, but I seen this big boat type thing. She was like, it's something like you would like kind of go Amsterdam on, though, like a ferry or something. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, honestly, goosebumps and everything. And she could tell obviously by my face. She was like, what is it? And she was like, whatever it is, I just don't feel as though you're feeling very aligned with whatever it is. And there was no way on earth that she could have known that I'd applied for that job.
Anyone,
It was literally the morning that I went, so it was obviously still on my mind. And when she said that, and obviously I told her afterwards and stuff, and I was like, and I knew instantly, like, right, it's not the right time for it. So that was an instance, and then since then there's just been loads of different synchronicities and loads of things that I'll not bore you with, but it's like,
this podcast is about you and your life, right? That's the whole point of you coming to tell us all about your life.
I think it's just because I'm so used to, like, there's a lot of people in my life as well who don't really believe in a lot of the stuff that I believe in, and that's fine, and I would never try and like convince anyone of anything. And sometimes I worry, like, when I am talking about it, that like I am maybe trying to convince them, maybe, even though I'm just obviously
like
sharing
convert
an experience.
to my cult of yoga. Yeah.
Believe in this shit.
You just stare at me from across the table. Believe.
So
here's your membership form. Sign this.
And I think it's just because I've never, like, obviously previously, because I've only really been into like the spiritual side of things, I would say, for maybe like the last 6-7 years maybe. So for a lot of my life I was very like, don't believe in anything. I've never been religious or anything like that. So yeah, there's still a lot of people in my life who are very much that way of thingy. So now when I'm coming across and I'm like, I've just seen 222, and they're like, oh fucking hell, like eye rolls and stuff, and I get it, I do get it.
My crystals are aligned,
because I know it's become a lot more popular in the last like year or so, I would say. And then I'm thinking, is it just because it's like my algorithm or whatever, and it's just because of what I'm interested in, what I see? But it's like, no, there's a lot more people coming to me now who are wanting to know a little bit more. They're wanting to know a little bit more about like the moon cycles, for example, and astrology. Like I've just finished my astrology course like a couple of months ago, and it's so funny because I've got people who still, they'll say like, I don't know, I believe in that shit and everything. But then they'll be like, so what's showing up for me?
They just want to know,
this new moon? And I'm like, I thought you didn't believe in it. And I was like, oh no, but I'll still want it. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, maybe they still have a little bit of interest in it.
I remember I used to work with a girl. I loved her, bless her, but she like, I remember I come up the stairs. This is when I worked at TGI Fridays. I come up the stairs and she was like, Adam, are you a such and such, Pisces or whatever I think I am? And I was like, I guess so. And she was like, that makes so much sense. And I was like, shove it up your ass, because I just don't believe it. Do you know what I mean? But I was just like, I get where people come from with it. And sometimes it's a little bit creepy how accurate it is. But for me at this point now, I can't fully believe in it. But I don't like, I wouldn't say like shut someone down straight away if talking about it. You know what I mean? Do you know
what I think it is as well though, right? Because I was very much in that like mindset as well of like not believing or whatever. And I was like, how can, like, when you were born, like everyone who was born in my month doesn't have my personality, like whatever. And I do get that, but you do have a full chart, so you actually have every zodiac in your chart somewhere. And there's two sides to every coin as well. So there's sometimes things that you'll really resonate with a sign, and then there's things that you're trying to, because it's, how do I explain it, like something that you're trying to kind of work towards that you're not very good at, if that makes sense.
You're trying to change that aspect of yourself.
So it's a big, massive thing. And like only when I started to learn a little bit more, and I was learning about the houses and like the placements and everything, and then I actually seen my chart, I was like, oh, there's so much more that goes into it than just star sign, for example. I do get it, because I think until I actually started to learn and understand the full spectrum of it, because like
not just the online little version that you see.
One little like star sign, like there's so much more to it than you
look, I had a guy, I think it was JP that I had on. I'm not sure whether it was him that was talking to this about me, but he was saying that a lot of people, when it comes to, you know, the month you were born, right? He was saying a lot of it, he reckons, is to do with, obviously, when you're born in the school year, you tend to see people because the age range and stuff like that. So someone that's born in like the September or whatever, I think it is, you're the oldest in the year. So you end up developing before the rest of the people in the year, so you have a more confident side of it because you've sort of matured before them.
And you know that you're older.
And you know that you're
older.
When
you're younger, you want to be older, don't you?
And then you've got like August babies who are more like, they tend to be more quiet or something like that. There's some sort of way that he was looking at it like that based on
from
how
like
the
an
school
environmental side
and he was saying that plays a lot into these star signs. I was like, that's a really interesting way to look at it. But then I'm like, well, we haven't always had that system in society, so it's kind of like, you know, there's more interpretation, but it's definitely something. I've had loads of people talk about it, but I tend to find that there's more women that tend to talk about it than men. I haven't had a guy come on here and ask me about star signs. It's never happened yet.
No, I can see that.
Yeah, someone's gonna come on and be like, bro.
It's funny that actually, isn't it? Really, I've never thought about that actually.
What, the school year thing?
No, the like.
Women and men. Yeah,
predominantly female.
I think women are more open to that side of things. I think men are very much like, well, that's a load of bollocks kind of thing. But I know there's a few guys that I've spoke to that are like that, and they do have star signs and things like that. But I think women tend to enjoy that thing more, which
Yeah.
You know, makes sense. But
it's nice to be able to blame your mood swings on what's going on in the cosmos. It's like,
I wish I could do that.
I've been an irritable bitch today. Well, fucking it was Mercury, you know.
Yeah.
It was me.
Somewhere to point the finger at. Yeah, it's the fucking universe. What would you say, like the sort of your spiritual path? How would you say it's changed you the most, in the most notable way that you're sort of, you're like, yes, I love that this has changed this about me?
That's an interesting question. Probably, definitely how, my career. Like the whole PT thing, like how PT people, and I don't really PT. I've got like one PT client that I've got at the moment. And a lot of what I'm doing now is yoga, and I'm doing Pilates, which is a lot more kind of, you know, gentle on the body, and I'm doing the breath work, the meditation, the moon cycles type thing. And if someone had said to us 6 years ago that this is what I would have been doing, I would have laughed in their fucking face, like genuinely. But I think as well, it's helping us put myself first and understand energetically what I want from life. So like prior to getting into spirituality and all this kind of stuff, I was very much driven by like money, probably like social status, like very ego driven. And even though back then I would have never have admitted that, I do know that a lot of the things that I would do would stem from trying to feed me ego and feeling, you know, a little bit more superior, I don't know, whatever it is. So now I'm a lot more trying to step into that version of myself where I'm not bothered too much about how much money I'm earning as long as I'm comfortable. Obviously money does also bring, it's not money that you're after though, is it really?
It's the ability to have opportunities and to do things with it.
What the money allows.
It's not just sitting on a pile of cash.
Of course. It's like having the freedom to do what you want during the day, and little things like that. So I've never been employed for very long. Because
is that like an authority thing, do you think? Or is it just like you just...
I think it's because it's definitely a freedom thing.
Okay,
definitely. Because when I got offered the job with the NHS, right, I loved it. I was a wellbeing coach, right? It was a brand new role that they'd brought in. So I was like one of the founding members of the wellbeing coach, wellbeing space in there. Obviously, I was salaried. So it was like, oh, this was very different. Because obviously, I'm used to constantly doing my accounts and, you know, organising everything. And I was like, oh, I could just step away from everything and just go to work, do my job, come home. Obviously, when you're self-employed, you don't do that.
No, you take it home with you,
entrepreneurship or whatever. It's constantly, all the time. The cogs are always going. So that was quite nice. And then I was classed as bank staff though. So basically where it's a 0-hour contract and you just tell them when you can and can't work.
Right,
So I was teaching yoga, and I was teaching yoga all sorts of different people, all sorts of different roles in the NHS. So there was people who worked in the restaurant, there was people who were midwives, there was surgeons coming to my yoga classes. So like big changes of like people coming in, and it was so nice because there was people who had never tried yoga before, and obviously I always have a theme with all of my classes, and a lot of people would come up to us after. Sometimes I would give them homework and stuff and be like, oh, you know, if you want to implement this teaching, you can do this. And like people would come to us and say that they really enjoyed it, and that they've, or telling us like how they've implemented, say, I don't know, like there was this one lady, right, and this always just sticks in my heart, and I just love it so much. And I think the theme was around one of the teachings in one of the yoga philosophies called Santosha, which is basically contentment. Very much focusing on your blessings, grateful and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know, trying to find something every day that you're grateful for can really help you see things from a bigger picture, I'd said. But a challenge that you can do is trying to think of 3 things every day, but you're not allowed to repeat yourself. So because coffee's on my gratitude list every day, if I was going to do a gratitude list every day, it's always, I do repeat things a lot, especially when you don't have to think about it. But when you're trying to think of new things, you'll subconsciously, without realising, be consciously looking for things, because you're thinking, oh, what new thing can I put on? So then you're starting to realise things that you would probably usually take for granted type thing. So anyway, this was the homework. And she came to us a couple of weeks later and she was like, so me and the family have started this group chat, and every morning we'll type something in, because we don't always see each other in the morning. We're like, different ship, like passing ships in the night type thing. And they would put something in the group chat, something that they were grateful for that day. And I was like, that is so adorable and so lovely, and they've continued it going. You
started a family tradition.
And I was like, and then I was thinking, it's not just her, it's like obviously now our family that are getting involved in it, and it was just like, it was just really nice. What were we even talking about before I got onto that?
It was how it's changed you.
Oh God, that was I've been on a big tangent there, haven't I?
That's why I love these things, because it's like it's you're telling your side of the story, you know, like.
So yeah, I loved the job with the NHS, and everyone was like straight away, right, congratulations for getting the job in the NHS, like the hugest congratulations. Anytime I've started, like when I started my own travel business, tumbleweed, when I was like,
that's next,
do you know what I mean? It's like, but every time I've done something for me, you don't get as much kind of like appreciation, but you've got a job with the NHS. It's like, oh yeah, a big organisation that's like, you know, and I was like, oh, this is like an amazing thing. And it was, don't get us wrong, I did enjoy the job. But then it came in where you have a contract. So they made everyone contracted, which was fine. I was like, I can do this. I can, you know, I can put my holidays on or whatever. But I'd already booked a holiday to South Africa with me dad.
Okay.
For his 50th birthday with my mum and dad, and I went for the interview and everything, did the whole thing. They were like, oh, you've got the job, you've got the, you know, the contract type thing. And I was like, right, so this week they're like, you might not have accumulated enough time to have the time off. So obviously I was expecting to have it unpaid and everything, and they were like, yeah, we don't know. And they were going to obviously honour it.
Yeah.
But as soon as I had that initial like
conflict,
it was like, oh no, like
the freedom's been taken away from you a little bit. Yeah.
And it's like, I'll book for Christmas, I'll book me dad a holiday that I go on with him. I'm going, obviously, so it's kind of like a present to myself. And me mum, so that's usually what I do around Christmas time. I'll be like, right, I'll take me mum somewhere for a little city break, and then somewhere with me dad, because my dad loves raving. So it's always like a festival or you know, like a rave.
And you just
somewhere.
happen to go along, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, happy Christmas to you and me. But then I was thinking, oh God, like I can't just book on a whim of when it's going to be the cheapest flights or whenever it's going to whatever. I'm going to have to like book the time off, and like, oh, I just had that icky like.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Sagittarius in us, I don't know, because we don't like to commit, apparently, in the astrology world. And from then I just thought, oh, do you know what it is? And I just had this, I tried to stick it out for as long as I could, and I just had this internal knowing. I was like, And I'd stopped doing like my own classes and my own teaching and everything. And I was thinking it's kind of been, that freedom's been taken away. And even though it was nice from like a stress side of things to not be having to organise, you know, me accounts, doing all of me own everything myself, like all of me promoting and all that kind of stuff that you need when you have your own business, I could just kind of step back. But I was like, it's just still not fucking worth it.
Yeah,
like,
there's something wrong about it. Yeah.
I would take that stress over not being able to.
Some
to
people
just
are just
have that
wired
freedom.
for that, you know. The more people I meet in this space, the more people I think. Some people are just wired to be entrepreneurs. Some people are wired to be employees. Some people are meant to be number twos. Like but it's not like. I think
there's no right or wrong, really, is there?
It's find out what works for you.
Yeah.
You know, and no one can tell you otherwise. You know, if you want to take on that stress and be an entrepreneur, and people are going, oh, we've got so much stress, like just go to work a normal job. You're like, well, kind of enjoy the stress a little bit.
Yeah.
It's stressing for something that I enjoy, so it's fine.
It's
do you know
not
what I mean?
as There's
always parts you hate. Like I hate posting content all the time. I fucking hate it. I've fell out of love with content now, but I do it because it works.
Because in this day and age, you kind of have to be
you have
visible
to have it on it.
for people to know what it is that you're offering and,
exactly,
and all that kind of stuff.
And
I mean, I have tried a lot. Like, there's so many times where I'll be like, I'm so fucking sick of doing my own accounts. I'm sick of doing this. I'm sick of doing that. I'm sick of not being able to just come home and switch off and whatever. So then I would like find something and then be there for not very long. And then I'd be like, actually, and I would just be like, boop, boop, boop.
Have you committed now, do you think, to the entrepreneurial
path? Fully committed.
I
know that I would never be in employment, ever.
Okay. I was going to offer you a job after this, but never mind.
Yeah, no. I mean, it would have to be something that really aligned and still was able to offer that level of freedom that I would need when it comes to the travelling and all that kind of stuff for it to work. Which, I just don't. I don't know if it's. I don't like being told what to do. Maybe it's like a little brightness.
It's that rebellious thing that we talked about at the beginning. It's just still there, it's carrying on. Yeah. Do you know what I hate the most is redoing stuff. I hate it. Like I'd rather just get something right, like that's done. And I hate sometimes when things come back to me and I'm like, I don't want to do that again. Or like, even if it's a tiny thing, I'm like, I hate the fact that I've got to do this again.
Even like when I'm invoicing gyms for like the freelancers classes and stuff, I'm like, fuck's sake, sometimes. But it's like monotonous. Monotonous. It's a simple task and. You know, and I do think as well, if I had have just trusted doing my own thing and that it would work and eventually and like not allowed like the self-doubt to creep in, because a lot of the time when I did go into employment, it was like, can I really do this? Like, am I really capable of like owning my own business and managing everything myself?
There's a lot of self-doubt with it, absolutely.
Of course, and I think I don't regret anything that I've ever done because I know that all of it takes place for a reason.
Yeah.
As fucking cliche and cheesy as that sounds. What am I even talking about?
Your life?
No, but like, what was that even?
You not liking being told what to do and needing to be the entrepreneur.
So I think if I hadn't of constantly went back and then had to restart everything again, though, when I was like, right, I'm going to do my own thing again. I'm going to get into PT. I'm going to do classes. I'm going to do this. I would have probably been a lot further forward.
But you found your stride now, you know.
I found my stride, and I think now that I'm in a place comfortably where, you know, financially I can do what I want. Like, I've got the time to spend with my family. I'm in a comfortable place. Yeah. That's kind of the place that I want to be. Like,
Yeah.
don't get us wrong, I am still very ambitious and I do still set goals and there is still things that I want to achieve in life, but I'm very much, because I do think as well, for a lot of me life, I was very much trapped on that wheel of constantly needing to be better.
Yeah.
Like I was saying the other day, like even like simply reading books, right? I hadn't actually picked up a fiction book for about 7 years.
I did that as well, actually. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's actually so fucking sad, because like I would have to, anything that I do, it has to be productive. I have to be
self-development related.
Self-development.
Yeah.
And it was like, actually, do you know what it is? Like, I actually enjoy reading for the sake of reading. And it was my sister-in-law that gifted us a book that a Northumberland writer wrote. And it was
Was it L.J. Ross, was it?
No, I think it's Eliza Clark. Maybe? Yeah. Eliza Clark, is it? Yeah. And the book was amazing, and I was like, I could not put it down, and it was so fun. And obviously I think because she was from Northumberland as well, and it had like little bits of like, like, it was just such a nice story as well, and I loved it. And I was like, oh, like I need to do this more. And then I realised, like, actually I've really took away the love of reading because I've had to have been productive.
Making
and
progress
I've been
and stuff.
very much like in that hustle mode for a long time, like a lot of years, and just not allowed myself to appreciate and slow the fuck down, like, and appreciate the work that I've already done and how far I've already come. And it's a pretty miserable fucking wheel to be on, to be honest, when you're not stopping to take the time and just appreciate what you've already done, when you're constantly trying to be better, because then there's no fucking end point.
Yeah.
Because there's always, you know, you'll earn that amount of money, and then you get to that point and then you're like, well, what now? Like, you earn more, and you earn more, and then...
It's just what the online gurus tell you to do. Like, read. You should be reading this book. Like, I love Ty Lopez. Do you remember Ty Lopez?
No.
Do you remember the Here in My Garage just bought this new Lamborghini? Do you remember him?
No.
Do you ever see him? He was everywhere on YouTube.
You know.
Oh, he was so good.
Do you know what? I didn't really watch a lot of YouTube, to be honest.
No?
Nah, I didn't.
We're talking like maybe it's 2014 or 2016 or something like that kind of era. He was like when YouTube ads first became a thing. So he was like, in his adverts and stuff, like, genius marketer, but he would always talk about reading a book a day. And I was like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Fucking hate it. And I can't read fast. I get like a little bit bored. I need to take a break or whatever. But I did the same thing where I'm reading like so many self-help books. I have like one there. I can't read two books at the same time. I can't do it. I don't know how people function with that. But
that would stress me out.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm like, but then I forget what's happening in the last chapter of that one. So I was reading these constant self-help books, and I was just like, eventually I wasn't even taking it in anymore. I was just doing it to feel productive. And then I was like, right, I'm going to go read the 9 Witcher novels, because I was like, fuck this. I need dragons and monsters and swords. I'm sick of I'm sick of gurus now. Yeah.
I do think as well, on that side of things, there's been so many books very similar where I've been like, right, I need to read as many books as I can to be as clever as I fucking can and know as much as I possibly can. And then some of the stuff, like, there's so many books that I've got sat there, right, and I'm like, I need to read that again, because I couldn't fucking tell you one main point from that book.
Yeah.
Because
it's
I've just
retention,
like whizzed through it rather than just like intentionally soaking it in and just like really appreciating it. Like, now I've started to highlight my books, which means I kind of pass them on. I do still pass some books on, obviously, but just so I can fucking go back. Maybe it's the memory thing. Maybe I need to just highlight so I can go back.
I've found that podcasts, and I haven't got into audiobooks yet, but I listen, if I want to read someone's book, I listen to a lot of their podcasts.
Yeah.
Because they tend to say the same main points of their books, and I'm like, this is more interesting, and I remember things like that. So
yeah,
it's
probably easily digestible as well. I think.
And it's like, I don't need to set aside the time for that. I do it while I'm driving. Like, it takes us 45 minutes to drive to work in the morning. That's like a full podcast episode. I'll just whack it on, and I'm learning first thing in the morning, which is great.
Yeah.
In terms of the travel side of things, like during all these, because you've been to a lot of fucking places, was there ever a place that wasn't how you expected it to be? That was maybe disappointing, or maybe beat your expectations even?
The south of Thailand.
Okay.
I loved Thailand, and I was there for a long time. But the south of Thailand was definitely not what I was expecting Thailand to be. I felt as though I was in an Asian Benidorm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know, I can visually see that as well.
Not a lot. So the islands and things like that aren't as... well, no, they're still so fucking touristy, like really touristy. And I know that obviously now, because of social media, places like that have boomed, and that is why so many people are going, and they do rely heavily on tourism for obviously money to be made in the country and everything. But I was just so disheartened to see how like tourism had ruined what was probably so beautiful beforehand.
Such a nice culture as well. Yeah.
I mean, the north of Thailand beat my expectations a lot.
Okay.
not as touristy. Don't get us wrong, there was obviously still a lot of tourists there and stuff, but it was very much what I was expecting Southeast Asia to be like. Very much more cultural, like, you know, the south of Thailand, there's just McDonald's everywhere and there's Starbucks and like, which is
it's like
fine
Americanized.
for convenience, like convenience wise and stuff, but like, I think from a cultural side of things, and I don't know, I think because, so when I did my 6-month solo traveling, right, I was 28, so it's like I was a little bit older. I think if I'd have done that when I was like, say, 19, 20, like some of the people who I'd met, I would have had a very different perception on the world, very different perception of things. Like 18-year-old me, probably wouldn't have been very safe because I would have just not been...
No street smarts or anything.
No street smart, and I would have just been like, yeah, fuck it, like whatever.
I'll get on the back of this random man's bike. Yeah, let's go. Yeah,
and just like, whereas I think it probably held us back a little bit from a lot because I was like, am I just really old and boring because I'm like risk assessing everything that I'm doing here?
No, it's probably the smart thing to do.
It was definitely smart. And it was funny, I did meet this young lad who was only 18 and he was solo travelling on his own, and I was like, you're a baby, you're an actual baby, like what the hell, like I'm a full decade older than you. I mean, he did have his head switched on, don't get us wrong, but it just got me thinking like, wow, 18-year-old me would not have been this switched on. Like when I think of what I was doing when I was 18, like I would actually be terrified of what I would have got up to over there and what you can't get up to over there. And other places as well. I'm trying to think of Switzerland was amazing. And I had a lot of people saying negative stuff about Switzerland. It's so expensive. And I mean, don't get us wrong. It was expensive. Right? Yeah. It was expensive when I was there. But a lot of people were like, yeah, like, I don't know if it was just who I had like spoken to and stuff, and they were like, yeah, like we went and we didn't really, and someone was like, it was £13 for a can of Coke, and I was thinking, fucking hell, how expensive is this going to be? And that was like a last minute trip as well, because the reason I ended up going to Switzerland, sorry, big tangent, how nice is this story, right? So I went to Costa Rica with my brother for his 30th, right? And he'd said, I want to trek in the jungle, I want to do something amazing. So used like a lot of my savings to go and do this trip with my brother, and it was an amazing trip. Costa Rica was amazing. I would definitely go back. We basically did this like 5-day trek in the jungle with just our backpacks, right?
That's cool.
With a guided tour, and the tour was like amazing, lovely bunch of people, and there was these 2 solo travelers, right? So a lady from Australia and a guy from Germany, and it was their first time meeting and everything, and we got on really well with them, me and my brother. So we did the tour, which was on the Pacific side of the island, and then we went over to the Caribbean side for a chill at the end.
Nice.
And the lady ended up coming over, so we met her after because she was like travelling around a little bit and everything, and we got really close and everything anyway. And then found out that the guy from Germany and the lady from Australia had been dating, right? Okay. And then they were in a relationship and they'd been travelling to see each other, and I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting. Then basically they got married in Switzerland, and they invited me and my brother to their wedding.
That's
cool. So fucking cool. I was like so honoured to be invited, but then when I seen them I was like, this is so fucking weird. Like, we were strangers when we all met, and now we're all married, and it was
part of their story though, aren't you?
It was beautiful. It was so nice, and it was an amazing trip. I mean, my brother did piss us off a little bit on the trip. I mean, God bless him. I'm saying bless him, but I tried to warn him. So this trip was rated an extremely difficult tour, like trek, and I was worried, and I was a PT, I was fit as a fiddle, like I was teaching spin classes regularly daily, and I was like, this is extreme, I'm a little bit nervous about this trek, like it's going to be pretty hard. And my brother's a plasterer, so don't get us wrong, he's like active, but he doesn't do a lot, he doesn't train, he just like, you know, so I was like, oh, I even got him a free gym membership, right?
That's nice of you.
Yeah, I know, weaseled in a free gym membership for him. He did 1 session, that was it. We did maybe like 3 or 4 little walks out on the Old Trails app. I was like, we're going to have to start getting used to, you know, this thing, because the last thing we want to do is like ruin the trip not being able to do it and everything. And he was like, no, I'll be fine. So day 1 managed, was intense. I had shin splints and everything, but it was like really rewarding, beautiful place and everything. And obviously it was really exciting the first day of the trip. Second day of the trip, right, I was walking ahead with some of the other people who were on the tour and everything. And the tour guide was like telling me to wait and everything. So we sat down, had a chill now. And then I seen the tour guide coming back up, right, with my banana bucket hat that my brother had on. And I was like, why is he holding my hat?
Right.
And I was like, and I couldn't see my brother. And I was like, this is weird or whatever. And he come back and he was like, yeah, so Danny's no longer with her. And I was like,
what the fuck?
I was like, right. And he was like, so him and another girl can't go on anymore. He's got a bad knee. He's going to have to be taken back. So
It's the fact that the co-operacy is no longer with us.
I mean, it was something along them lines. It was, yes.
You're like, so you're fucking
like, what? And the worst thing was, though, like, my brother had a lot of meat essentials in his bag.
Oh, no.
So things like me sun cream and, like, the body wash that we were using to get washed with, and, like, a lot of the shit that, like, I would have needed. Not the bucket hat. I mean, he did think, oh, give her a hat back.
No, that was nice.
Like, oh, cheers, you know what I mean? Like, everything else. Things like the toothpaste and that.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, I was the youngest in the tour, and a lot of them just kind of took us in as their daughter, and they were looking after us, and, like, yeah, it was nice. And then I met up with him after, obviously, at the 5th day, and I was absolutely exhausted. Yeah. So exhausted from the tour, and he was all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, oh my God, like, how was it? And all this, and I was like, you didn't even fucking
and you're like, you fucking pussy, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And then I can remember I was so irritable. We did some like whitewater rafting type thing, and I think he said something and I snapped, and he was like, what are you fucking snapping this for? And I was like, I've been trekking in the fucking jungle for 5 days. I've been fucking, and I was like, it's all right for you, your legs are fine, because he was wanting to like go and thinking, and I was like, I'm just wanting to chill me or whatever. Yeah. I can remember we had this big massive argument, and then we were fine afterwards, obviously, but yeah, that was a funny story. As siblings do. I
think one thing that I have an opinion that's quite controversial, and that is Dubai is one place that I've been that is overrated to fuck.
Do you know what, right? It's a place that I've never, ever had an interest in going.
I didn't. I was on a family holiday there, but I got to explore a bit, and I was just like, obviously, I think I went before it was kind of like the Instagram-y place.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even then I was like, it was just kind of all right. It was fucking hot, though. Yeah. It was horrible. Yeah, I don't do well in heat being a ginger, right? But you go outside, and it's like the wind is like a hairdryer on full blast. It's horrible.
Well, they close down a lot of stuff, don't they? For like certain times of the year and certain days, times of the day and stuff as well, because it's just so fucking hot.
I mean, don't get us wrong. It's a beautiful place, and everything's clean, and I know the crime rate's really low, and like the Palm is insane, and like obviously you go to the Atlantis and stuff. Like we went on a boat trip and stuff, but like I just think everyone's like, "Ooh, Dubai," and I'm like, I don't rate it. In all fairness,
I can't really say anything about it because I've not been.
Yeah.
But it's just always baffled us as to why it was becoming this really popular place to go, because it's never really been anywhere on my list. Like I've had friends who have gone, they love it. Like my sister-in-law went for her birthday as well, and they took my little niece and everything, and I was like, oh my God, taking a baby to Dubai, like why? Like I don't know, like I mean, they had an amazing time. They loved it, and they were saying, like, honestly, Sharna, you would love it. The food was amazing. Like, it was
the
really
food was nice, yeah, absolutely.
Really nice people, and, like, they did enjoy the holiday, but it's just never really been, like, I think it's very showy, though.
It's where money goes. I think if you want to look like you've got money, you go to Dubai. Yeah, and just for the most part, you need money to go to Dubai.
I think it's even similar, like, you know, when people go to, like, Ocean Beach at Ibiza. I've been to Ibiza a few times, right, and I've never been to Ocean Beach because I'm just like, I couldn't think of anything worse.
Ibiza is actually my worst nightmare, by the way, because I'm not a party person. I look at all of it and I'm like, oh my God.
I did do 4 days sober in Ibiza.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's probably like the first person to ever do that.
But no, because, right, people don't realise this about Ibiza, though. There's a very spiritual side of Ibiza as well.
Okay.
So it's not all just like clubs and pills and raving, which, don't get us wrong, I do love a good rave. Like I am into me like dance music and stuff like that. But there's another side of Ibiza that's actually really beautiful and really spiritual. So have you heard of Esvedra?
No.
Basically, it's this beautiful rock, right?
Okay.
And you can go and watch sunset there, but it's known to be, I think it's meant to be one of the most like magnetic places in the world. It's something to do with like the coordinates from the Bermuda Triangle and all that kind of stuff. It is quite interesting. But they do this thing every Sunday. I can't remember, what's the place called? I'll probably remember it once we stop the podcast, so I'll send it over.
It happens every episode, don't worry about it. Someone forgets something, and afterwards they're like, yes, it was that.
That was it. It's when you're under pressure, isn't it, when you're thinking about somewhere. But they do this thing on a Sunday where you can go, and there's like, I mean, it is very like hippified, don't get us wrong, but like they'll have the drums, and there's people like meditating, and it's a really beautiful space to go. So there is a huge side of Ibiza that not a lot of people, well, I mean, people do know about it, but it's not the first thing that you would think of when you go to Ibiza. There's a lot of people who hold like yoga retreats there, and there's a lot of sober things going on at Ibiza that I've noticed. I don't know whether because there's been so many different phases in my life where I've been very sober curious, right? And there was a guy who reached out who was doing a sober retreat in Ibiza. It is becoming a lot more popular of people wanting to go and kind of connect socially without having the alcohol,
the booze and the pills,
in the drugs and all that kind of stuff. So it is becoming a little bit more, I think, common for people to be trying different styles of partying.
Okay. Maybe I'll give it a go one time. Hey, Carla, do you want to go to Ibiza?
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We're all going to Ibiza, guys. Let's go.
Any excuse. So yeah, I took some of the girls who I do the travel business with. We went as like a little business retreat type thing. So I was like,
business retreat, Ibiza sounds.
I know.
Business expense.
But it was actually it was actually really lovely.
Yeah.
And we did the whole Esvedra thing, and we had like sunset and picnic, and it was really beautiful. We had such a good time, and it really changed my views as well, because I didn't know how I was going to handle being in Ibiza being sober, because every time I've been in Ibiza, I've been like in another dimension. Like working with my dad. The first time I went to Ibiza was with my dad.
That's class. Yeah.
It was his first time in Ibiza as well, so it was like a really special trip. Like I do love going to these things with my dad. Like we do have such a good time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure how I was gonna find it, but there's been a few raves and stuff that I've went to recently where I have stayed sober, and I've fucking loved it. Like
you got more in your body when you're sober. Like I went through a phase of doing a lot of clubs sober. Like if ever I go on a night out or anything now, I always drive, and I always park up somewhere where it's like dead cheap or whatever. Yeah. And I'll go, and I can't obviously have any more than like one, basically.
You force yourself
I either have to enjoy it sober or not go. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna miss out on social occasions. But it's like I don't miss being pissed. Yeah. I don't miss the hangovers. I don't miss feeling and saying shit that I shouldn't do. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I don't miss that at all.
I think a lot of what it is, right, what I used to struggle with when I would first be interested in like going sober and all that kind of stuff, is the confidence that it gives you, or you think that it gives you. You think that it gives you this confidence when you have a drink, and you know, if you said or did something here, you've got something to kind of blame it on type thing. But I think I've found now that I'm becoming more confident in just the person that I am, and I don't actually give a shit about what other people think. Like you know, like dancing sober was like something that I would have never have felt comfortable doing. Yeah, it's a big deal. And I think just because, especially I think like UK drinking culture, it's very normalized. So I think it's just been so normal, and I've just grown up in when I've been going out and dancing and doing all this thing, that would just be a part of it always anyway. Like it was really weird for it not to be. So then I think it's just kind of unlearning and just knowing, like realizing that you can actually socialize without having to have that there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, because there's been a few times where I've done very similar, where I've drove into something. Yeah. Purposely not wanting to drink. But then there's been a few times as well, like when I went out on a staff night out, I'm not going to say where it was, what job it was, but it was like a Christmas night out or whatever, and I was like, right, I've decided I'm not going to drink, because I was going through a phase of where I was realising I was always the fool. I was always doing something.
You were the one that people gave drinks to do the stupid shit.
Do the stupid shit. And I was like, do you know what it is? I don't want to be that person anymore. Like I don't want to be the person who's being laughed at, and I don't want to be waking up thinking, why the hell did I do that? Like
seeing the video on Facebook the next morning.
Yeah. Like when you were younger, you didn't really have that, you know what I mean? Like you could just be a tit, and then it wouldn't be shown everywhere.
People would just recount the story, and then you were forgotten about it. You didn't go, like, oh yeah, you're in full HD.
It was in your memory. It wasn't actually like physically there to be shown to everyone. But I can remember I drove in purposely, and beforehand there'd been a little bit of talking like, oh, you know, you're gonna have to drink, and I was like, no, I'm just, you know, I'm still wanting to come type thing. But there was someone who I worked with who was very much like, no, you have to drink, or there's no point in you coming, and I was like, well, that's fucking rude. So I went and I got myself like a little mocktail. So I was thinking it was like a little mocktail mojito. So I was like, at least it looks like I'm drinking a cocktail or whatever. And he was like, has that got alcohol in? I was like, actually, no, it doesn't. And he was like, well, why? He was like, are you fucking pregnant? I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then he was like, so what's the point in even coming? And I was like, well, I've came to like socialise with the people who I work with.
Not you though.
not just get rat arse. But then I was realising, like, actually, do you know what it is? Sometimes it's maybe just the environment and the people as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, if you wouldn't want to socialise with us if there's no alcohol involved, you're obviously not a person who I would do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was like,
absolutely.
So why would I make the effort to then go out my way to socialise with you if you kind of do it, if it's got to have drink involved type thing? Do you know what I mean? So distancing
I know people like that.
That was a good thing for me, like
absolutely,
because it did take us a while though. It did take us a while to people.
It does, especially when you're in that especially when that's your friendship group. It takes a while to move away because you feel bad cutting people off or like spending less time with them, you know. So
that's it.
No, I totally get it.
And the FOMO.
Yeah. You see the nights out on the Snapchat stories while you're in bed with your cup of like tea, and you're like, oh.
See, but now it's like total JOMO, like the joy of missing out. I'm like, yeah.
I've never heard that one actually.
Have
I
you
call it
not?
JOMO.
Yeah,
Yeah,
JOMO, yeah, like the joy of missing out on something. Like
I'm
I really,
stealing that, guys.
I really love
Stealing
that when I'm like all cozy inside, and I'm like, oh, I'm so fucking glad I'm not there.
Yeah, I'm like 10:30 bed. I'm like, yeah, everyone's out. Like, I remember, to be fair, I've always been like that though. Even when I was a kid,
Have you?
like I used to have early bedtimes because I just never sleep.
Yeah.
So like it'd be like 9 o'clock on a school night. Like this is primary school, and I can hear me mates outside the window still running about on bikes and shit. And I'm like in bed trying to get to sleep, and they're all shouting at us from the window. I'm out trying to sleep and be a good boy.
Oh, bless you. That's dead canny, man. How cute is that?
I know, I love it. So in your experiences abroad, was there anything that you experienced or went through or viewed that maybe changed you as a person or changed your outlook on the world? I know it's quite a deep question, but
That is a deep question.
was there anything that you saw that you were like, oh, that's not what I expected?
I mean, there's probably a long list of things like that, to be honest. It was really weird for me though, because when, I don't know if you heard about the stories of the methanol poisoning, about the people who died.
Yes, it rings a little bit of a bell, yeah.
So it was in Laos, and it was so weird as well. So I was supposed to be going to Laos. So I was in the north of Thailand, and the original plan was for me to go to Laos, and then I knew that I had to come back because I had a festival booked, right? So I knew I had to come back to Thailand, but obviously you only get the 90 days. So I got 60 days stamp when I first went in. Then I went and extended it when my mum and dad came out to say, is it over Christmas, which was really nice. They came out for 3 weeks, so it was really nice. So I knew that my days were running out soon. So I was thinking, do I go to Laos? What do I do? Type thing. And I thought, you know what it is? I'm just going to wait until the very end of me 90 days. Then I'm going to decide where I go. Okay. So I stayed in Thailand, and then I had originally planned, like I say, to go up to Laos on the slow boat and everything, which is the really common way that you would do it. And then the stories came out like 3 days later of these people who had basically been poisoned, unintentionally poisoned. So they basically added methanol to the alcohol that they were serving so it would last longer. And there was 3 people who died. So a girl who was from Britain, there was an Australian girl who died. And I can remember, like, obviously hearing these stories, and there was loads of people messaging us, like, oh my God, don't drink the free shots, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really drinking anyway, like, while I was travelling, like, not much anyway. And it was just, it kind of put us on edge a little bit. It was, which is obviously understandable, you know, when you hear a story about that. And even when I was in Laos, I do think it kind of, I couldn't really appreciate the place as much as what I would have liked. I loved Laos, don't get us wrong, it was still definitely one of my favourite places that I went, especially when I went to the north of Laos and I did the hike in the mountain, and that was really, really special, really amazing. And I met the most amazing friends in Laos as well. So there was these 2 girls who I ended up travelling with for a long time, and they are literally, I would say, ride or die girls now.
Nice.
And it's crazy because we're from totally different walks of life as well. So one of the girls, Pia, sorry, I'm just going off on another tangent again. She's from Norway, and she's very much like black, white. She doesn't believe, she's like, do you know what I mean? And there's me like, yeah, like on about like the angel numbers and this stuff. And I was like, what's your sign? And she was like, I don't fucking know. Like, and it was funny because we were so different on so many levels. Like, she was always very like sleek, wearing all black, and I was like me tie-dye and nothing ever matched. Like the brighter the better. Like just didn't really, do you know what I mean? Like complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but we got on so well, like so well. And that was really lovely. And I don't know how I ended up getting onto that.
What was your experience with people?
With people. So that did, obviously the whole methanol poisoning thing did kind of, I wouldn't say it ruined my experience, but it definitely shifted me perception. I wasn't as able to enjoy me time as I was there because I was constantly just wary about it. And then obviously because it happened at a hostel as well, it was like, oh, do you trust them? Do you not? And yeah, it was.
I trust no one when I'm abroad. Like I just don't trust anyone anymore. Like I mean, I got I'll tell you this. So I got followed in Miami when I was there.
Really?
So I was 20 at the time, and I was with a guy called Chun Tan. I don't know whether you've ever heard of him, but and he was a few years older than me, so he got into a club, and I went, look, I'm just going to go home like a little bit early. We had the seminar the next day. And so I'm walking, and I'm in like my finest Primark shirt and jeans, you know, white shirt, black jeans, thing that's cool. And I'm walking down this street, and it was quite deserted, but there's loads of cars. And these 2 guys were like stood next to this car, and they went, like, you know, excuse me, do you know where we pay for the parking here? And I went, oh, sorry, I'm not like from around here. And then they kind of gave me this look, and we're like, okay. And I was like, right? So I started walking like where I was going, and they started walking too, like behind me, like not like right behind, but like a distance away.
Enough for you to know that they were going your direction.
Yeah, they were going my direction, so I'm like looking back, you know, and then like I'm like, all right, maybe they're just looking for this parking meter. And then it got to the point where I'm like, you guys have walked way past wherever this parking meter is, and they're getting closer and but they weren't. Every time I turned around, they weren't talking; they were just walking straight, like looking at me. And I'm like, I'm gonna die. So I'm like, obviously at this point I'm panicking, you know, and anyway, I could see some people up ahead, but on the opposite side, so I'm like, jaywalk, fuck it, I'm gonna run across the road. So I ran across the road kind of thing, you know, not letting on that I knew anything. And I knew where my hotel was. I saw the Walgreens or whatever it is, and then I dived in the hotel, like past reception, up in the room, and I was like looking through the peephole and shit. I was like proper scared. Like my adrenaline was high, and I was like, fuck. But I knew, like, at first I was like, am I being paranoid that I'm being followed? But then when they followed me like for another couple of months, I was like, I'm getting followed here. So I was just, I was glad I managed to get out of that situation.
When you're on your own as well, it's scary.
Yeah, it was like, but I think that's what they saw. They were like, I'm by myself, and I was young, and like, you know, like,
I think probably the worst experience I've had where I felt very unsafe during my solo travels was, so I don't know if you've seen, but I smashed my phone just before I got on the slow boat to Laos. So the bottom half of my screen was totally smashed, and it was black at first, but then sometimes, the odd time, it would flash up like the bottom bit. It was still smashed to smithereens, but because I could still actually use the phone, I just couldn't see the bottom bit, so I couldn't type, I couldn't do anything. And I dealt with it for a while, because sometimes it would come on and sometimes it would turn off, and I was like, you know what, maybe this is just trying to teach us patience, and,
like,
you know,
get off my
like,
phone as much,
and be more present, not be on the phone type thing. But then I realised that it's actually essential when you're travelling on your own. So I came back to Thailand, I did the festival and everything, was amazing, had such a good time, and then I was thinking, right, you know what it is, it's time, I think I'm going to go to Cambodia. And I'd heard loads of positive things about Cambodia, and I was dead excited and everything, so I booked my transport, which was like an overnight bus, organised like the visa type stuff and everything. And then when I got through customs, which was stressful, especially when you're on your own and you've got a fucking 12-kilo backpack on. Like, everything's stressful when you're carrying loads of weight and you're on your own, and, you know, it's like unknown thingy. And then a few people told us, kindly, as I said, that I was going to Cambodia, mind loads of people get kidnapped at the border. And I was God. So they were like, just be really, like careful at the border. And I was like, right, I would rather have not been given that information, to be honest. But anyway, I was like, nah, it's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had heard so much more positive stuff than it was the negative stuff. And then I'd got through the border and everything, and then found where I was meant to be boarding this overnight bus. And because my phone was cracked for the QR code type thing, he was like, I can't let you on. And I was like, oh shit, like what do I do now? Like, and I was like, is there no way, like, you can look for my name and I've paid for it and everything? And he was like, if I can't scan the QR code, no. And I was like, is there a way that I can try and send it to your WhatsApp or whatever? And he was like really unhelpful and really cold. And he was just like turning away, and I was like, oh my God. And it was like 9 o'clock at night, so it was dark. I was like, I've got nowhere to go, I've got nowhere to stay. Like, I'd booked me hotel for obviously the next day because it was an overnight bus. I was supposed to just be sleeping on the bus or whatever. And then I started to really panic, thinking, fuck, like, I've got no signal, because obviously when you go into a new country, it's a new like SIM network, card that you would need. And because obviously my phone was cracked, I'd been keeping me SIM card in, and I'd just been trying to use eSIMs. But because I didn't have any internet, I was trying to find somewhere where I could connect to the Wi-Fi. There was nowhere. I was like, I've got no phone, I can't organise somewhere to stay, I'm literally at the border, there's nowhere, like. So then there was a lovely guy who came over, and he could tell I was getting really distressed, and I could feel myself starting to want to cry, right? I was like, fuck, like, I'm on my own, no one even knows, like, exactly where I am. Like, I've told my mum, obviously, I'm crossing the border, but there's millions of borders. Well, not millions, that was dramatic. There's a few more borders, obviously. And I was thinking, is this where I get kidnapped? And I'm going to be on the news. I'm going to be like one of those people who died of the method. And you know when you start to spiral? And I was shit, like, what am I doing? Why am I on my own? I'm a female. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. Da, da, da. And then this guy came over, and luckily enough, I was like explaining. He didn't have the best of English, but we managed, and I sent the thing over to his phone, and then he came over with us and he scanned it.
Nice.
So I got on the bus, and I was like, thank fuck that happened. And then I was like, right, I need to get my cell phone. Yeah. Because for so long I was like, yeah, it's going to be fine. I'll go back, I'll claim on the insurance, because I've got insurance on my phone, but obviously I can't send it off when I'm in Southeast Asia. So when I did eventually get to the hotel, I went to the shop and I got a cheap ass phone. It was like $35 or something like that, a Vivo, just so that I had my emails, so that I could get me confirmation for my bookings, and just actually, because I had my laptop with us as well, because that's how I'd been like booking me hotels, me hostels, and everything like that. Because for some reason, I feel like I can't do anything major purchase-wise or anything unless I'm on a laptop. I don't know why. I feel like I'm going to get scammed.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I know
when I'm on my phone, I'm like, it's not legit, even though it is. It's like, I don't know why.
Birthday presents, Christmas presents get bought on the laptop.
On the
Everything,
laptop.
like every little purchase, like is
like
phone,
important things are always on the laptop. I don't know why. Like, it's even if it was just something really simple. Like, I know you've got like your booking.com. I've even got like my own travel portals app on my phone. But still, I have to do it on the laptop.
Trains, everything I'm doing on laptop. Yeah,
I'm like, it's a bigger screen. I feel clearer.
That's what it is. You can see, yes, that's what it is. It's the clarity of the big screen. That's exactly what it is.
I think that's definitely the reason.
There's people listening going, "Oh my god, I'm the same." Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It makes us feel better, because then there was a few people who I told this to, a little bit younger to us, when I was traveling, and they were like, "That's so weird," and I was like, "Yeah, well, I haven't always had a computer on my phone, right?"
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, fuck you.
That's an age thing. I'm with you though. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. And I did feel really old when I was solo traveling. I'm not gonna lie. Don't get us wrong. I did meet people who were similar age and older, but a lot of the places where I was going and staying, it was just very much younger. I don't know if it was actual age or whether it was just because I was very much not in that like party mindset. Like, I went traveling with the aim of like doing little bits of work and being mindful and cultural and going, and do you know what I mean? Whereas if I went when I was 18, I wouldn't have been cultural and nice. I would have been like, let's get fucking aroused.
Let's get smashed. Yeah, 100%.
So I think it was just maybe the difference in how I was, and just associating with like how old I was. Like that 18-year-old, I was like, oh my god, when I was 18, and I was like, I felt like I needed to just wrap him in bubble wrap, and I was like, I'll keep you safe, and he was like, who was this fucking mad woman?
Well, when I was 19, I travelled to Australia by myself.
Wow,
I didn't travel around Australia by myself. I met up with a family friend over there, and then my auntie and uncle who I hadn't seen since I was like 3. Yeah. So I had people over there, but I did the whole trip by myself and stuff. Cool. And I was just like, well, it's funny because I will get around to the. Actually, this is a later question, but I'll ask it now. So you mentioned I saw one video where it was you. I think on the text on the screen you were like, people asked about waiting for Mr. Right or whatever to try do these traveling experiences with. Yeah. And I know a lot of people say that they'd love to travel the world, but they want to do it with someone or they want to wait for the partner to do it with them, but like you were just like, well, I have to do this myself. So where did that mindset shift come from for you, and like how do you feel about it now?
I think because I knew that I was fast approaching my 30th birthday as well. I was like, if I'm going to do it, because they used to have a rule in Australia where if you went on a like holiday visa, it was like 25 to 30. And I was like, fuck, I'm running out of time. So like I automatically, and I knew that I wanted to do a big travel. I knew that I had to get it out of my system before I actually formed roots here. Yeah. And, you know, like moved out and all of that kind of stuff. Like, because obviously doing anything like that on your own's hard anyway. But I was like, I never want to like be tied and stuck without having had that experience and traveling around or whatever. So then I was like, right, I'm getting older and like I really need to pull my finger out. But it was probably because for a lot of years as well, I couldn't really think of anything like that because I was caring for my grandma a lot. I was caring for her full time when my granddad died. So during lockdown, I lost 3 grandparents in the space of like 6 months. It was really brutal. So I started caring for my grandma, and she was very, what's the word? She didn't have very good mobility. She'd had a stroke and everything. And I didn't realise how little she actually could do when I first started caring for her. But then I got to a point where she was very independent, so she was able to get herself dressed. She was able to, like, you know, do her own meals and stuff. And we didn't realise that she did have early onset, well, not early onset, sorry. She had dementia and Alzheimer's or whatever. So she started to struggle, you know, like making meals and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I slowly started to get it to a point where I could just go and visit her 3 times a day rather than being there all the time. Yeah. And then I was thinking, oh, maybe, you know, I could go back to work and start doing, because carer's allowance is absolute peanuts. Because, like, if I wasn't living with my mum and dad, I would have never been able to do that for her. Yeah. And I knew that, I just knew deep down that it was me that wanted to do it. Like, I wanted to make sure that she was getting good enough care. And we got to a point where she was really independent and she was, like, thriving almost. But I still had that, like, level of responsibility. So even me and my mum went for a city break to Amsterdam once, and I think she'd had a fall and she couldn't get back up. I think she'd had an infection, so she was off her legs a little bit. And it was the neighbours who would ring and we could see her on the cameras, and I just had that level of guilt, like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have left her. Yeah. And then when Alzheimer's and dementia started to decline quite a bit, and we realised that she wasn't actually safe, and I was wanting to go back to work and things like that, I had to have that really like difficult conversation where it was like, right, even though I know that I want to care for her, like I also don't want to miss out on opportunities of like being my own person and having my own career and living my own life, and I know that that is what she would want us to do, really. And it was hard. It was a hard decision to make because, like, obviously I love the bones of her. But then when she started having these falls, and I had been back to work and stuff like that, she had a big fall where she ended up back in hospital. Luckily enough, she didn't break any bones or anything like that. But we had that discussion, and it was like, right, she's going to have to go into respite. She can't just go straight home. We need to make sure that she's cared for. And then the respite place where she went, she actually really liked it. And she made a friend, and, you know, she was having a lot more, like, stimulation as well. Like, they were doing, like, quizzes, and, like, she constantly had someone there. Whereas, like, when I was going in 3 times a day, or my mum was going in to see her or whatever, the other time she was just sat in the chair watching the telly, just kind of, like,
zombified,
her just declining, like, no real quality of life. I mean, she was happy doing that. But it was a lot better for us to see her, like, actually interacting with people. And I just feel like she got a lot more from it. So then once we made the transition of her in there full time, and we knew that she was happy there, and we felt that she was getting cared for the way we wanted her to be cared for, then I had this newfound freedom of thinking I can go and travel and not be so worried about her. Obviously I would still miss her and all of that kind of stuff, but I know that she's cared for. And I also didn't want to put that then pressure on my mum if I was to then go, because if we hadn't had that in place, when my grandma would have been cared for, and it would have then been down to my mum, and like everything I do is to try and make my mum's life easier, because like I just love the bones of my mum. Like, if I could, my main goal and why I think like money wise and stuff, I know I was saying I'm comfortable and whatever, but I would love to be able to retire my mum early and just give
I'd love to retire my mum and my dad. Like, I mean, my parents are separated, so I've got to do the double but I'm thinking, you know what, when they're both just in wheelchairs, I'll just put them in the same place together. They can battle it out, you know. You know what I mean? They can have little like jousting tournaments and stuff in their wheelchairs and stuff. It'd be class. But I think, do you know what, that's quite a common thing I've noticed in entrepreneurs and stuff. They always want to retire their parents. I don't know what it is. I mean, like, if their parents are still around, you know what I mean? But like, it's just a nice thing to want to be able to do for someone. I think
it's also nice as well to have parents that you get on with, like that. Like, I'm so fucking blessed for the relationship that I have with my mum and dad. Obviously, they're still together, which again is a massive thing. Like, not a lot of parents are still together. And the fact that I get on with them both so well, it's like, I know I'm really lucky. Like, I speak to a lot of my friends who are saying like, oh, I would love to have that relationship with my mum or my dad. And when they say that I go to these raves and festivals with my dad, everyone's like, oh, you're with your dad. I'm like, I am with my dad. Like, I have a better time with my dad than I do with my friends. And it's a big driver for us, because I know that probably a lot of my success comes from the upbringing that they've enabled for us. Like, even making us go, well, I say making us go, they did make us go, actually, to be fair, but I'm grateful for it now. Like, swimming when I was younger and getting that discipline, like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're in fucking primary school, and getting bullied because you constantly stink of chlorine. Like, I wouldn't say it wasn't like dramatic bullying or anything, it wasn't anything major or anything like that, but I can just remember there was a few hurtful comments that I would take on, and then, but now I do think that it has helped us have that kind of discipline and that thing, and like knowing, like, you know, when you do hard things, you do get good results from it type thing. So it was like it did give us a good work ethic, I think. And I'll always be dead grateful for them for that, and I'm always so grateful for the relationship that I do have with them, because I don't know what kind of person I would be without that, you know what I mean? And I think it's nice to look back and just celebrate the fact that, and that's why I always like taking them away, and like anything that I can give back to them, because I did not give them an easy time either. Like, I did not in
those rebellious years. No.
Like, some things that I could probably never ever say out loud that I did, and like put them through. The podcast's the best place to do it. And I do try my best now not to hold that level of shame and guilt about some of the things that I have done in my past, and some of the things that I did put my mum and dad through, because I know that it did eat away for us for a long time, especially. And I think, to be honest, right, the guilt and the shame that I had for some of the things that I did do and put them through, probably was what got us into personal development and started thinking, right, I really want to like be a better person for them. So I think if I hadn't have been that little bastard, that little shit, because I was, you know, like, there's no like,
there's no two ways about
it. Like, if my mum would sit and say now, she would like she sometimes says as well, like, oh yeah, girls mind when they get to this age really bad, and I know I was really bad. Some of the things I was like, and that's probably maybe as well why I'm not that bothered about having kids.
Because you're like, I know what the realities of it.
If I have a little me, because of what I know that I did and how I manipulated things and how I got around things and stuff, I was like, I'm going to be hyper aware of that.
Yeah.
And I'll probably...
This kid's going to try it on with you. You'll be like, nope, I've been there, done this.
I've done that one.
I invented that move.
Kind of have that move. Yeah. Maybe, because it would terrify the life of us having to deal with someone like me in my teenage years.
Well, going back to the realities of solo travel, because I know a lot of people always talk about they want to go traveling or whatever. What are some of the realities that you can give people who maybe want to do it, some things that shocked you about it or you didn't expect?
I mean, I suppose it depends where you go. One of the things that I really struggled with in Southeast Asia was the poverty and being around it a lot. Because, you know, like, everyone always jokes about how cheap it is and, like, you know, and you're basically laughing at, like, how cheap it is. And it's like, we come over and we're so fucking privileged and entitled and, you know, and it's like, when you realise that, you know, when you're coming over and then you've got a lovely home to go back to, like, a lot of the places, especially when I was in Laos, we did a lot of, like, cultural trips there, and it was very, very eye-opening. Like, you know, it's very, very normal it's very uncommon for a normal toilet to be in a family home. Like, it's usually just, like, a hole in the ground, and little things like that you really take for granted. And I mean, it's probably, I wouldn't say it was a negative thing, because it did make us realise how fucking privileged I am and how lucky I am to have been given the upbringing that I have. Like, I was speaking to some families, like, you know, they don't have beds, like, they'll all share this, like, blanket on the ground. And it was funny though as well, because a lot of the times I would see the kids, right, and they would be so happy and content, and they would be playing, and you can tell they're using their imagination and thinking, and they're not, like, behind a fucking iPad screen. And it was like, you know, like, is their right way of doing it? Like, not having all of these
I get it,
material possessions, and it's like, you know, they're totally oblivious to kind of the iPads and the whatever, and they're just kind of playing, and even though they don't have a lot, they just seem so much more content. And, you know, like, I'll see kids, like, you know, that do just get stuck behind an iPad or whatever, and it's like, they're little brats, and it's like, do you know how easy you have it? Like, how comfortable your fucking bed is.
Make up football out of bottle tops and stuff.
And not having to worry about, like, where your meal's coming from and all of that kind of stuff. And I struggled massively. I think probably mostly in places like Thailand and stuff as well, because, you know, tourists, like I say, will be sitting on the beaches with the fucking cocktails and whatever, and it's like laughing about how cheap it is. And there's families that are literally struggling to make do, and it's hard. It's hard to have that, like, realization, because then I was like, I'm the problem. I'm the tourist. I'm here, and I'm like, do you know what I mean? I was like, I don't know, and it was a hard battle to kind of, like, overcome. But just constantly being around the poverty as well, I think. I'm naturally quite, like, an empathetic person, and I did struggle a lot with constantly being around it. And obviously I would give back when I could, and just, like, the daily luxuries that we don't take for granted, being able to drink the tap water. And I know there's loads of things like the tap water is poisonous, all the toxics and the chemicals, and I do get it, right? I do get it. But then it's like, you can still fucking drink from the tap.
Yeah, it's not going to kill you if you do.
You'll not die.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe slowly have some, like, you know, negative effects on it, and I get it. Like, I'll still drink bottled water.
As he picks up his massive blue bottle of tap water.
No, but I mean, it, like, because I would always be very much like, oh yeah, the tap water's like shit, no, like, bottled water. And I was like, actually, you know what?
It's better than having no water at all.
We've got it. Like, it's when you put that in a perspective, you realise, like, actually, we stress about so much shit that doesn't even fucking matter. And it's very easy as well. I think social media these days, it's very much like, there's this and that, and the poisoning we're here, and the da-da-da, and it's like the doom and gloom. It's easy to get caught in that, like, negative, like, oh fuck, the world's fucked. Like, don't get us wrong, it is fucked for so many reasons that are going on at the minute. Like, I do get that, but I think as well, like, realising just how privileged and lucky you are for what you've got. That was, like, a big realisation. And it's fucking tiring travelling. It's tiring. Like, it's so tiring. Like, I loved it, right? And at first as well, like, not having anything to do, and I was like, oh, I can just wake up when I want and do what I want and go where I want. But actually, right, it got to a point where I was like, I'm literally existing for the sake of existing here. Like, I feel like I'm not really given anything. Like, I don't really have any purpose.
Just kind of wandering.
Like, what's my purpose? Like, what? Just to see how cheap the fucking 7-Eleven is around the corner, or like whatever. Like,
yeah.
And I felt like that's what I struggled with towards the end, like especially when it was getting to that like 6. Well, it was like I actually cut it early. I come back like 5.5 months and surprised me mum, because I was, one, missing my family, and two, just thinking like I actually like going to work and like teaching me classes.
It's a purpose,
and, like,
isn't it?
It's the purpose thing, and I was like, I feel like I'm existing for the sake of existing, and it wasn't really. I was like, what am I actually, like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I think some people just want to go traveling just to say that they've done it, not to actually experience it. It's like I always joke like this. It's quite harsh, but I always joke about like people who go to Thailand, stroke an elephant's trunk, and think they've had a spiritual awakening.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
no, it is very much. It is very much.
It's very cliche,
and very like a lot of the conversations that I've had were very much with people who are doing that.
Yeah,
exactly
it's like,
that.
but you've been through these villages where they've got nothing and they've got a pool of shit in the ground. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the realities of the world, not like, oh, I touched an elephant.
It's like actually going to see, and also as well like knowing what is ethical and what's not. So there was a lot of like trips that you could book, say through like hostels and stuff like that. So for example, there's a trip that you can do in Pai, which is the north of Thailand, and it's the Tipsy Tubing, or there's one called Jungle Tubing, right? And there's 2 of them now, right? And they're at war. So basically it's where you go down the river, you're on this like dinghy, and you stop off at the different bars or whatever, and it's like a fun social thing, right?
Okay.
And basically the locals created this thing. I think, I don't want to get them the wrong way around, I don't know, but I think it's the Jungle Tubing that started off, and it was very much like the locals. So you were kind of putting money back in their pockets and whatever. And then this hostel created a second one, which was Tipsy, and it started taking all of the customers from the actual local company. And it wasn't like, do you know what I mean? And it was, a lot of the argument was like, well, you know, if you're coming, you're wanting to like invest in the actual place, in the actual like communities and stuff, and a lot of the time you're not, like, so it's like making sure that you're
giving the money to the right people,
to the right people, and for the right reasons as well. So like a lot of the animal things in Thailand are not ethical, a lot of them, even when they promote that they are, a lot of them aren't. So just really do your research before you do it, especially if that is what you're intending to do, was going and actually putting something back into the communities and stuff like that. But it was, and like it gets a lot constantly fucking moving around. Yeah, you got to be on your ball as well. Like, where am I going next? Where's the next hostel? Where's the next meal? I think, especially when you're on your own, right? And maybe especially when you're female as well. Like, yeah, I can imagine that's quite. Did you feel like unsafe a lot of the time? Or the only time I felt unsafe was that time at the border. Okay. I've never really felt unsafe otherwise. There was one time that some guy, actually, I was staying in a hostel, and I come back and I'd been to see this fire show. It was amazing, and I'd had some mushrooms, right? So I was a little bit like wavy, nothing too extreme, nothing like too trippy or anything, just a little wavy. And I came back and there was a guy in my bed, right? And I was like, that's my bed. And I was like, what do I do? And it was really late at night, and I was like, do I wake him? Do I not? And I was like, well, yeah, he's in my fucking bed. Like, what do I do? Yeah. So then I was like, and I was like, this is actually happening, isn't it? Because like, I'm not just like, this isn't an illusion. Yeah. And I was like, excuse me, I think you're in my bed. And he was like, okay. And then just like didn't move. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, and then there was no spare beds in that dorm either. So I was like, it's not like he's confused my bed for his or anything. I was like, there's no actual spare beds for us to just climb into. So then I had to just go like outside and sleep on a hammock. Because I was like, I just want to go to fucking bed. Like, I'm not bothered. So I had to make sure that I had like I got me jacket and everything, because you would get eaten alive if not. Yeah. And I just slept on the hammock, which was actually really fucking nice. Yeah. And there was also once as well, like, you know, when people talk about like island life and all that kind of stuff, it's not always like beautiful beaches and stuff like that. Like, there was once, I don't know what the fuck I'd been bit by, right? I don't know what it was, but they were everywhere. I don't know if it was bed bugs. It might have been sandflies, but like my legs were literally infested by them, and I was like, fucking get me off this island now, because it was very similar, where it was like, you know, like boho, hippie, lovely vibes, but actually I'm being eaten alive, right? The coffee was so shit as well. Like, if you go to Cambodia, I'm just preparing you, the coffee's really bad. If you go to the islands, I'm not going anymore. So I love coffee tooh much. Yeah, Koh Rong and Koh Samalomalom, that's not how you say it. That's anyone who looks, you'll know what I mean if you look at it on a map. I don't know how to pronounce it. The coffee was so bad. So bad. And I know, again, that's like such an entitled privileged thing to say, isn't it? Like, the coffee was so bad. Like, but it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this shit. Like, so I was like, oh, I can't wait to get to a beach. And then I got to a beach, and then I was like, I can't wait to fucking see a city. And then it was like constantly, do you know what I mean? And I was just like, and I mean, don't get us wrong, I still loved it, and I still had an amazing time and stuff like that.
People forget about that cleanliness side of it, though. They just, like, do you know what I mean? How fast you'll miss, you know, being clean.
Being clean, yeah.
and
like,
not being eaten, and
Yeah, and I mean, it was weird because, like, don't get us wrong, right? I loved staying in the hostels, right? It was cheap, you got to meet people.
Yeah.
But then it gets to a point where you're like, right, my social battery is so fucking low right now. I cannot be bothered. I just want my own space. I want a hot shower, because the hot showers are, like, not existent, especially in the hostels. And then I'll be like, right, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to buy myself a lovely hotel for 2 nights and everything. And then I would be in the hotel and I'd be like, oh, I'm so fucking lonely and bored and like thingy. And it was just a constant being like clean and chill and having that unwind. And then I would get to a point where I'm like, right, I need some social interaction. Because then I would start, it was weird because I felt safer in hostels than I did when I was in a hotel room on my own. And you would think, you know, people being in the same room and
I suppose if you've got
having your
loads
stuff
of people
out and open, do you know what I mean? It was like, you would think like, oh, like, is my bag going to be safe? Is anyone going to steal me money? Is anyone going to steal? And I never, ever, ever felt that in the hostels. Whereas there was sometimes when I was in a hotel and like, you know, like very similar, if someone like looked at us for a little bit longer, I'd be like, are they following me out of this room?
Yeah.
And like, it was that, oh, I'm on my own type thing, which was really, really bizarre for me.
Do you think it's kind of like made you a more confident person doing that, though?
100%.
I would imagine so,
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, I saw something else on your Instagram. It was about you refusing to live an average life. Now, the funny thing is, this podcast is called The Above Average Podcast, which is great. So what do you class as an average life, and what do you do in your life now that makes it so that you can ensure that you live that above average life?
What I would class as an average life is staying the same forever. So like just continuously doing the same cycles, going to the same bars, going to the same, like, I know someone, right, who every year goes on holiday to the same hotel.
Oh yeah.
The same place, the same hotel. Like, don't get us wrong, right, the hotel's probably really good and amazing, but like every fucking year you're gonna go back, no change. And I'm like, you're spending that money going back to what you know, and it's like there's so much of the world that you can see, like what the fuck, like. But I just think average life is those who just kind of live on autopilot and don't ever have any kind of real kind of drive or any real thing that they're working towards, I would say. Or people who are just constantly doing the same things, like I say, like the same patterns and just going to the same bars and doing the same things, like never actually like growing and changing. And I mean, like, I know it can go the other way when I was saying getting caught on that rabbit wheel of constantly needing to be better.
The
Need
self-help
to be more
junkie.
Need to be more healed, need to be more whatever. Like, I get that, but then there is some people who are just so like the same person that you like, you've left school and you're the same person with the same.
I can't believe people who you knew in school. I mean, geez, when did I leave school? Like 2012, and I like see people on Facebook. You're the same douchebag. You're the same dick.
Like, that is what I would just class as average, and just kind of just getting on by, like, autopilot, just doing the same thing. And before you know it, you get to an age and you're like, fucking hell, what have I done? Yeah. Like, what have I done with my life?
See, I don't want to get to that stage. I never wanted to be the one that, like, I mean, obviously the classic, like, you only regret the things you didn't do and stuff like that. Like, but it's kind of true. Like,
it is.
You've kind of got to fuck around and find out. Like, that's kind of the best way to do it.
You
like,
do.
As long as you're not gonna die, I think most things that you can try, they're not gonna have massive disastrous consequences.
That's the thing. And like, you know, when it comes to like trying like new business ideas or like doing something out of like, it's like the worst thing that's going to happen is you maybe fail at it and then you learn from it. And it's like, some people are so scared of failing and so scared of anything different and change. It's like, oh, I'll just stay in me same little thing, even though I don't really enjoy it that much. I'm just happy to just kind of stay here. You're never actually reaching your full potential. And you will get to that point where you look back and you think, fuck, like, what have I done?
Yeah.
And like, I can hand on my heart say now, if I was to die tomorrow, right, I would be so happy with the life that I've lived. I think because especially the last like 3 or 4 years, I've made it my mission to prioritize things like trying new places. It doesn't always have to just be travel though. Like, just making the time to spend with the people that matter the most and just seeing what the fuck the world has out there. Do you know what I mean? It's a big, big, big place. And one of the things I noticed when I was solo traveling, sorry to go back to this,
No, go
but
for it.
my perception of different places changed as well.
Okay.
So like I met people from all sorts of different countries and things, and it's so funny because people automatically, I got quite a lot of negative stuff because I'm British,
Yeah,
right?
I can imagine that. Yeah,
And
yeah,
I get it.
we don't have the best perception in other countries.
We
No.
don't, and they're like, ooh. And I ended up having this holiday romance with a guy who was from Ireland, right? And like, I'm probably still a little bit caught up, and I'm not gonna lie, we had such a nice time together, like 3 weeks together. And I can remember he was like saying stuff about like being English and stuff, and I was so oblivious, right, to like how like shit British people actually could come across as, right? And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like so defensive, and he was like, and it was like explaining, you know, like obviously history and I was like, yeah, but that's not me. I was like, I didn't fucking do all that stuff. And he was like, no, but it's just obviously, and he was like, obviously we do have these perceptions because of these historical things that have happened. Like automatically, there was a girl who I met from Germany, and she said she very much gets that like, oh, Germany. Ugh, And she was like, it's so upsetting because people they'll automatically just put that kind of like frame on you. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, they're German. Sorry, or they're like whatever.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I'd actually noticed that of people doing it about British people, and I do get it. I get it. But it made us realise like how much my perceptions of places were like as well. I was like, oh, I do actually have that opinion as soon as someone tells us they're American. Automatically I'm like, oh, they're American, and you start going through these like,
start going Trump supporters.
do you know what I mean? Like, but automatically like trying your best not to be like, right, so whose side are you on? Come on then, give us your even though I'm not like very political or anything, but obviously I understand what's going on.
You tend to find that don't always fit the stereotypes. There's
course.
a lot of the attitudes that do,
Of course,
but like,
course.
it's funny though.
So that like I realised like actually, do you know what it is? That's something that I need to work on, is like realising the patterns or the kind of programming that I've got around what certain people are like and stuff. So that was a nice kind of realisation for us. I don't know how I got onto that either.
Living the above average life. That's what it is. Yeah. It is an interesting one, and I feel sometimes like, I think for me personally, when I first got into self-development, my views changed a lot on it, because back then I thought I was like, right, I'm going to have to become a coach and run my own business. I'm also going to have to read all these books, and I'm also going to have to know all this self-help stuff, which was exciting at the time, and then it slowly became a draw. And what I realized is like, self-development can be whatever you want it to be, but if you want to go one level deeper, it's whatever your path to mastery is. That's what I call it now. So it's like, for example, like my self-development is this podcast, this content, is putting these words out there and letting people hear other people's inspiring stories. That's kind of my current path to mastery, has always been sort of that way. Whereas like, if I try to then go down all these other avenues, I'm just going to lose my competency in all these other areas. So it's like, I think for most people, it's like, what's your one path that you can do that you can be really fucking good at? Like, what's your self-development path? Not like how many crystals can you shove up your ass. It's like, what's the best path for you? And so yours could be yours is yoga or something.
With that though, right? So I remember someone saying something very similar, right, to me, and they were saying like, you know, what's that saying where it's like master of
jack of all trades,
right? And I can remember at the time I was like, but I do yoga and I love travel and I do and then it was like, no, if you're going to be successful at anything, you need to just do one thing and just be really fucking good at it. All the rest is just noise type thing. So for a long time I was constantly like, what is my thing? Like, what is it? Like, do I go a little bit more down this way, or is it just purely the yogas? And like, I could never just be that one thing.
Well, it'll sort of change. It's not like
does change.
It does adapt.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. It's just funny how you said that, and that triggered that thing of me, like, because I for a long time thought, shit, like it needs to be that one thing that I need to master. But very much now, when I've been just going with what fulfills me the most and what I feel as though offers the most impact, it would definitely probably be more the yoga side of things. And I know that travel is probably a passion that I'll always have, but when it comes to the impact that you have on others,
yes, I think that's
what's more fulfilling. That's the thing. I think that's what I struggled to kind of separate at first. I was like, oh, well, I can help people have lifelong experiences and and like, but I do get what you're saying. Like
there's different ways. I mean, there's a great book on it. I think it's Gary Keller. I want to say maybe wrote the book The One Thing, and it's great if you're trying to be, because like it's like a tree has branches, right?
Yeah.
So like if you think of your main purpose as like that trunk, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got all these little branches that come off. So maybe yours is the yoga, and then you've got like your travel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you'll always have your bread and butter kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that example. It's like if you're going down all these other avenues and trying to grow so many trees,
that's true.
You're kind of going to struggle because you're not known for a specific area, and you'll never reach the full potential in that area because your focus is scattered elsewhere. Whereas like if you can put your focus into one thing, and then once that's solid and it's got its roots, that's what you'll be known for. And like I like everyone that I've had on here on the show is like they've got that main thing, and then we've got these rabbit holes that come up. Do you know what I mean?
Fingers in all the pies.
Yeah, like... do you know what I mean? But most people just kind of like scaggle and they're like, I'll try this, I'll try that, and they don't push it far enough to get good results in that one area. Yeah, but it's like if you stuck to it and find that one thing first.
Yeah.
And then grow from that. You'll find that everything sort of encapsulates around it a bit better.
I think that's very similar with like styles of training and like how to go with like your nutrition and stuff when you come back to like the PT side of things. Like people will try like say a keto diet or whatever it is for a certain amount of time, and then they'll go on to something else, and then they'll go on to something else, and it's like you need to give something long enough to kind of grow and blossom and pour your time and energy into it, especially if it's going to be something that is going to kind of thing like give back. But
so I would say every form of exercise, every diet works. Which one can you stick to? It's like if you find that keto works for you, stick to it. If you find that bodybuilding's your thing, do it. If you love swimming, do it. It's like no one can tell you it.
Like cookie cutter like things. It's like, oh, come and do this like 6-week thing of whatever, and it's like it's like, no, like everyone's so different. It's about finding what you can do sustainably and enjoy while you're doing it as well. Like
I hate cardio. My trainer Paul, shout out Paul Joblin if he ever sees this, used to make me do the rowing machine, and I used to fucking curse him because and he just made me do like miles on the rowing machine, and then he's like, right, come on, we'll do a full lifting session. I'm like, I'm gonna die. I hate cardio. Like I just don't like how cardio feels. Like I mean, it'll probably impact me in later life from my heart, so it's awesome. But for now, I love just the intensity of like lifting something heavy or like feeling strong. That's where my love for that lies. But I don't have anything against people that want to run or swim or whatever.
That's the thing. Like,
that's their thing.
People would always come to us and be like, oh, right, so especially when I was a PT, like back in the day, they'll say like, right, so how many miles should we really be running? Like and it's like, well, one, do you enjoy running? 2, is it something like people just assume like, oh, if you run, you're fit. If you run, like, and it's like, sometimes it's not always the best thing for your joints, the longevity, unless you love it and you do it for a sport or whatever. You don't have to run. It's like just a thing that's there, accessible for you if you enjoy it. Like I would try and force myself to be the runner as well. I did like 2 Great North runs, and I was like, I'm fit and I run, and I fucking hated it. I hated it. As soon as I stepped off to do a run, even if it was a small one, straight away in my head I'd be trying to talk myself like, just turn around. I hated it. Some people, it clears their mind, and the love
they're insane.
They're insane. They're insane, yes.
All the runners just went, nope, not listening to this one anymore.
No. But it is. It's like you say, it's about finding what works for you, isn't it? And what you enjoy as well. That's the biggest thing, I think. If you can enjoy it, then you're going to be able to keep it going for longer. You're going to be a lot more consistent.
Absolutely. But you're just going to have a more enjoyable life than forcing yourself to do stuff you hate. Yes, you have to do stuff you hate to get results sometimes. There's parts of being an entrepreneur that you probably hate. There's parts of this podcast sometimes I fucking despise. But it's worth the end result. Do you know what I mean? It's like, like I just love having something that I feel like makes an impact. I'm sure you're probably the same in that regard. I think everyone, when you start off doing something that's always kind of for you a little bit, like you start off in the gym or whatever, PT, and I'm going to make money and I'm going to look great online and stuff like that. And then eventually you're like, actually, if I make this more about other people, it's a fucking way more enjoyable experience. It is, exactly.
So much more fulfilling.
Exactly.
And you become more successful by doing that. I always think when you're in service of others, it always comes back more positive for you.
People don't care what you know until they know that you care. That was my biggest saying.
That's a good saying.
It's like if people think that you don't give a shit about what their problem is or whatever, and you're just in it for the money or for how it's going to make you look, it's like, well, I'm not going to give money to this person, you know?
Of course. Yeah. I do think when you're operating from a place of where you're kind of service to others as well, naturally everything just comes better for you, like energetically wise.
Yeah.
In the woo-woo world as well, I would say.
I love the woo-woo stuff. I've talked about so much. I will just say actually the woo-woo side of things. Like, how much credit do you give it? Do you like? Is it something that you practice every day? Is it something that you would think people should do more of, or do you think it's just a as and when kind of thing?
I mean, it depends on what kind of woo thing we're thinking of. But when I think of like energetically, right?
Yeah, so you're talking like meditation and maybe a more spiritual path.
So, see, a lot of the thing that I base off now is like vibrationally, right? Like how, so everything has a different vibration, a different frequency, all of that kind of stuff. We know this, right? And emotions hold a different vibration as well. So obviously lower vibrating emotions are things like guilt, shame, anger. And when you're operating from that negative, I wouldn't say negative, but when you're kind of vibing lower, I do believe genuinely in my heart that you will start to attract lower energetic things in your life. So whether it's circumstances, people, and don't get us wrong, like I'm not saying if you have shit happen to you in your life that's because you're fucking vibing too low or whatever. I'm not stupid. Things do happen.
Some people do think that way though, so that's what.
They do think that way, and that's ridiculous to think. I think that's obviously my opinion, because I do think sometimes challenges are put in there forward to then learn and grow and adapt from that challenge. So I don't always think of it as like, oh, I need to sort out my fucking chakras because my life's like shit. It's not like that at all. But I do think, and I do consciously daily try and think of I do practices that allow us to tap into that like higher frequency, so that I know that wherever I go and whatever I do, I'm operating from like a place of love. Like I try and pour love into everything that I do, like conversations that you have, like the food that I make. Like if I can make it really pretty, then I'm going to do that. And I know like some people will be like, oh, what a waste of fucking time. Like I'll put like an edible flower in me coffee and me down's like, fucking hell, like what a waste of time, what a waste of money. And I'm like, it's my pretty coffee, and if this is going to help me feel better in the day, I'm going to show up better. I'm going to have better conversations. I'm going to be more confident. Like if I know that I'm operating from a place of love, then I know that I've done everything that I can that day to be the best version of me, and that's all I can do. But then I can very quickly notice when I've stopped doing things like me meditations and me journaling and stuff like that, and I've started to delve a little bit, like spiraling a little bit of where I'm not doing that type of thing, and I can feel that my energy's lower, and like I'll be a little bit more irritable with me mum, like I'll snap it on. I'm like, oh, I don't want to be like that. Like there was a thing that I got taught in my 300-hour yoga course, right, which I absolutely love doing, and I do very regularly. I try and do it weekly, and it's basically a meditation where you try and reflect on the day that you've had and the interactions that you've had with other people, and you ask yourself, if you were to have that interaction again, would you show up in the same way, and would you speak the same way to that person? Which I've always found so fucking helpful, because there's been times where when I've thought back and thinking, I'm like, oh, I really wish I didn't respond that way. I wish I didn't react that way. I wish I'd have been a little bit kinder in my response here or whatever. And when you do take that time to reflect, and you're constantly, it's kind of like reprogramming your subconscious.
You catch yourself before you
catch yourself before. So then in the conversations or the interactions that you have going forwards, you're a lot more likely to kind of stop and pause and think, how is it that I want to respond? So you don't just respond like from an emotional reactive way. It's like, right, how can we both get the best out of the situation now type thing. And I wasn't always like that.
It takes time to get to that stage where you catch yourself.
I mean, people who would have probably known us like 6-7 years ago would be like,
there's someone listening from school going, she's fucking full of shit.
She's fucking lying. She was a fucking bitch, whatever. So that's something that I do regularly. I do try and work energetically, as I would say, to do the things that are going to make us feel good. Yeah. And operating from a place of love from that side of things. And so daily, if you could class that as like the woo-woo stuff, then yes. And I used to journal every day. I don't journal every day now. Like sometimes I do in the morning if I've got time and if I want to, but it then started to become a little bit detrimental, where I was like, fuck, I haven't journaled today. Like I'm such a bad person.
Self-development stops aiding your life. It becomes your life, and that's what,
and it was like, now it's not serving us. Like it's like just becoming more of a hassle. It's not actually doing what I intentionally started it to do. But like I'm consistent with the moon cycles. So if you that woo-woo stuff, I am fucking consistent with.
Nice. I love it.
Only because if you think of like a moon cycle, right? So just a quick little astrology 101, right?
Okay. School me.
So if you think of the moon, right? The moon has about 28 to 29 days cycle, right?
Okay.
And females have a similar cycle when it comes to a menstrual cycle, right? And the moon is associated with like feminine energy, all of that kind of stuff. So feminine energy is very much focusing on like trusting that the universe is going to happen, like resting, restoring, nourishing, nurturing, all that kind of thing. And then males have a 24-hour testosterone cycle. In the sun, we have a 24-hour cycle
Okay.
with the sun, right? So that's the sun's associated with masculine energy, which is very much like planning, getting stuff done. So it's very much like do. Feminine's a little bit more like BBB type thing. So when you follow the moon cycles, right, you have the 28-day cycle. So the first moon cycle is the new moon, and that's when you should set your intentions, focusing on how you want to show up, how you want to feel, what you want to achieve, all of that kind of thing. But depending on what zodiac the moon's in at that time, will have a theme associated with that sign. So say, for example, if it was like a new moon in Libra, Libra is very much focusing on balance and work-life balance. So you might focus on themes around that.
Okay.
So if you did it consistently for the full year, every single new moon you would be setting intentions with some different aspect of your life type thing. So you're kind of covering everything.
Okay. It's a little bit more of a practical element to that than I would have thought, yeah.
It's very practical.
Yeah.
There's a system.
It's not just believing in stuff.
It's not just being like, oh yeah, the full moon, charge your crystals and all that, which is very much what you do say on Instagram and everything.
Yeah.
But there is actually like logical like steps behind it, yeah. So you've got your new moon, and then you have your first quarter, which is when you should start taking the action on the intentions that you've set, all of that kind of thing. Then you have a full moon, which is very much focused on kind of releasing anything that no longer aligns, letting go of what doesn't serve you, whether it's physical clutter or whether it's like self-limiting beliefs or whatever it is. Also a really nice time to focus on the things that are already doing well, so celebrating the wins, rather than just constantly, like you say, being on that cycle of being better, more healed, appreciating and celebrating how far you've come, what you're grateful for, all of that kind of thing. And then you have the last quarter, which is very much just resting, reflecting. So how did this moon cycle go? What could have went better? What went well? All that kind of thing. And then there's the next
review
cycle.
And plan, yeah.
So
I like it, yeah.
I do use the moon cycles as part. That is basically my personal development.
Okay.
Just because I found it did help us tap into all aspects of my life at different times, and it allowed us to kind of have a kind of structure towards it, whilst being able to do all the woo-woo shit and enjoy it that way.
I love that there's more of a practical element.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
That's the best way anyone's ever described it to me. So maybe you might have been the one, after nearly 50 episodes of the show, you might be the one that convinces me.
Maybe you should come up with a little workshop.
Maybe I'd love
a little ceremony.
Yeah, I am. If I come and do yoga with you, by the way, I'll be the most like difficult student you've ever had, because I am stiff.
No, right? Because this is what people say to us all the time, like, oh, I'm so bad at yoga, but real yoga, real yoga, you cannot be bad at, right? Because it's like, yoga is not about how flexible the pose is or how much you're able to balance on one leg or all that kind of stuff, like all the stuff that you see on social media, like the headstands and stuff like that. Don't get us wrong, it's fun to work
You do the
towards.
headstands.
I do the headstands. Not for a while, actually. I haven't done a headstand in a while. But real yoga is like, so the word yoga actually derives from the word yoke, right? And that translates to unite.
Okay.
So it's all about kind of uniting the mind and the body, or the breath, the body, the mind, or the mind, the body, the spirit. Ooh, all the woo-woo kind of thing.
I like that you cringe a little bit when you do that. You're like,
I feel like I have to be relatable.
Put some quotes on it.
I relate to you guys. I know that this might be how you're feeling towards it. But
you're all peasants compared to my spirituality.
It's funny though, because I do get a lot of stick for it, to be honest. But
it helps you, so fuck it, yeah.
It does, it helps me, and it helps some of the people who I coach and the people who come to me classes and stuff as well. Like, it helps that. But you cannot be bad at yoga. Okay. There's no such thing. And when you think of you're bad at yoga, that's very much the westernized version of what people think yoga is. It's the actual physical, like, stretch class, as people would say it. Honestly, nice. Like, when people say, I'd love to come to your little stretch class, I'm like,
it's more than that.
You're not welcome. Oh, that was a big crack, wasn't it? That's probably going to go right in the mic, that is.
Well, from our final question for you, there's one that I ask every guest, and every guest's different, and I always love this question because everyone always surprises me, and it's quite simply, do you consider yourself a success?
Yes, I would.
Okay. You can expand on that as much as you want.
Because a few years ago, if you'd asked us this, I would have probably said no.
Okay.
But how I define success now is being at peace. Mm-hmm. And currently now I feel very at peace with who I am, the life that I live. the impact that I try to have on other people.
Yeah.
And I do feel like everything that I do is very much in service of others. And I do still obviously do things for myself. I think it's important to do that. But when I think of success, I used to think of success as like nice bougie cars and, you know, a big house and like maybe like a rich husband or like whatever. What we think success. So like I went to uni when I didn't really want to go to uni, like because I thought that's what success meant
like,
and all that kind of stuff. And now I think success to me is just genuinely being happy because not a lot of people are happy. And in today's society, I think it is harder to be happy because especially with everything like social media and stuff, you know, we're constantly fed why we shouldn't be unhappy. But I genuinely would say I'm quite happy with where I am now. Like even though I'm single, I'm still living at home for the next like couple of months. I'm moving out in a couple of months, but I'm still at home, and those things would be probably deemed unsuccessful. Like she's nearly 30 and she's still with her mum and dad type thing. But I'm like, I get to have dinner with people who really fully love us, and like I've got that safety and that security so that I can take risks, and there's loads of pros and cons that come with that. And it's taken us a long time to just kind of accept who I am. Little things like not putting a filter on when I go on my stories, little things like that like
being more real and authentic.
Just real authentic. Like I actually really love the life that I live, and I can genuinely say that. And I'm not constantly striving for more, even though I am still very motivated to be able to give more to me family and myself and those who like come to me classes and serve and all that kind of stuff. I would love to be able to offer more, and but I'm very happy with what I'm able to offer now and kind of what I am doing now. I really love waking up every morning. Like I wake up in the morning dead excited to go and do what I do. Like I get dead excited to go and teach me classes. Little things like I get excited to sit and plan me week as well, like with me coloured pens. My dad says that, you know, he's like, is that all you do is fucking colour in? But I'm like,
I love your dad. He sounds like a great dude.
That's another thing though. He laughs at it, and he loves it. He loves us for it really, and because he sees us when I'm like drawing little like suns on the bottom of my page and stuff. But it's my diary, and I'm thinking, that's me operating from a place of love for me week this week. If I can make me page pretty when I look at it, then it's going to make us feel good. So I do fucking colour in for me work.
You heard it here first, folks. Go colour in, it'll make you feel better. So Sharna, this has been an incredible episode. Thank you for coming on the show. Where can people follow you? Where can people find you? And where can people work with you? So I do my online moon workshops on my YouTube channel, which is High Vibe Honeys with a Z. Very professional, I know. That's also my Instagram page, or my personal Instagram is the Travel Yogi 777. So if it was anything to do with travel or anything and you wanted to follow us for that, then you're welcome to. And I do also have a website which I totally forget about. It's www.highvibetribe.co.uk. I like that.
And that's a mix of like because I've got like my training portal on there for the travel agents that I work with, and how you can book travel with her and all that kind of stuff, and also where you can access like my free online yoga classes and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much it. But thank you so much for having us as well. And
no, it's been great. I'm glad we finally got to do it as well.
I know, a long time coming. But excellent. The fact that you think I'm above average was a bit of an ego boost. I'm not gonna lie. Like, ooh. I
need to start getting stickers for people. You are above average. Give them a sticker as well.
I would love a sticker.
We need to start doing that. Call it right on the list. We'll get some stickers in there.
Put it in the post. You know where I live now.
Yeah. Well, not if you're moving out in a few months. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Actually, I'm sure my dad will give us them.
No, you'll steal them.
Some more work stuff for you.
Yeah, steal them. Like, I'm above average. But yes, guys, please go follow Sharna on everything. Check out YouTube. Check out the website that she always forgets about, and follow her on Instagram as well. But also follow myself, which is on the screen as well, or find me at Adam James Proud. I'm on everything exactly the same. And give this podcast a 5-star review. No 4 stars, right?
No 4 stars.
5 stars, or it just helps push us to new audiences. It's great, and it makes me feel good about my life as well. So until the next episode, it is. It's an ego boost. So until the next episode, guys, take care.